Were these moved from my desk to here?
6 o'clock.
Thank you.
There we go.
Just waiting for the last member to, one of the last members to arrive.
No, in person. You don't count if you're on Zoom now that there's no emergency order.
Either the one that goes in your pocket.
I mean, you count.
It goes in the pain or the one.
Sure.
This is for business cards.
This is John.
Just look at it to see, to make sure that everything, information is okay.
Sure.
And then I'll run with it. This is your parking decal. Just fill out the information, and then once it's filled, I'll give you the parking decal. And I think the last one is stipends, and then this is just the handbook.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you.
I can't get the link. I don't know why.
You want to come together?
Is no one there tonight?
Where's that from?
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
I know. I should know by now.
You mean you don't have it memorized?
Seriously?
Oh, I already got some. So did you bring me some notes? What do I have in here? Did somebody leave me some?
I think we need one more.
Donna,
We're eight.
I have this. Is this different from the new one? Or the same?
Did you send that one out?
I just sent it to the new all.
To the new people? Okay.
I will,
Did you get it to everybody?
yeah.
Thanks. I'm going to call the special meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order at 6:01 PM on Monday, January 10th, 2022 in the Aldermanic Chamber and via Zoom teleconference, which meeting link can be found on the agenda and on the city's website calendar. Oh, the prayer will be offered by City Clerk Sue Leverang, and Alderman at Large Michael B. O'Brien Sr. will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with the spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. If you are participating via Zoom, please state your presence, reason for not attending the meeting in person, and whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Present.
Alderman Sullivan,
Present. I am on Zoom. I'm in the room by myself here because I tested positive for COVID.
Alderman Clay, Alderman Moran,
Present.
Alderman Lopez, Alderman Jettie,
Here.
Alderman Clemmons, Alderwoman Kelly,
Here.
Alderman Como,
Here.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes, I'm attending via Zoom, and I'm in the room alone, and because of possible exposure to COVID, and I have my two youngest grandchildren visiting, so.
Alderman Govia,
Present.
Alderman Kathy,
Present via Zoom. I am the only person in the room, and I am adhering to COVID protocols.
Alderman Tebow,
Present.
Alderwoman Timmons,
Here.
Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
You 9 physically in attendance and 3 are participating via Zoom.
Thank you. Okay. Tonight we have presentations by some of the city departments. I'm going to start right off with that. When the departments are done, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what's expected here in the chamber. I think the first thing you might want to know is don't speak until you're recognized by the chair, because that keeps the meeting flowing a little more smoothly. But we will talk a little bit more about those things at the end of this meeting. First off, I'm going to recognize Lisa Foto from Public Works Division. Director Foto?
Great, thank you. Good evening, President Wilshire and members of the Board of Aldermen. My name is Lisa Foto, and I serve as Director of Public Works. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss Public Works with you this evening. I only have about 10 minutes, I'm told, so I'll go through this presentation very quickly. But I'd be happy to provide you all with additional information one-on-one or give you tours of the landfill or wastewater treatment facility. With that, if it's okay, we will share our screen. The Division of Public Works provides the leadership and framework necessary to build and maintain a safe and sustainable city infrastructure that will be utilized by many future generations of Nashua residents. Some notable senior staff that will not be mentioned further in this presentation are Andy Patrician, who is the Assistant Director of Public Works, Carolyn O'Connor, our Finance and Administration Manager, Lauren Byers, our Public Relations Administrator, Matt LeBlanc, who is our Division Operations Manager, and Diane Thibodeau, who is my assistant, and you will probably be speaking with all of those members of our staff. The Division of Public Works employs 169 people and is divided into 6 departments: administration, engineering, parks and recreation, solid waste, streets, and wastewater. The Board of Public Works is the employer board for the Division of Public Works, and it's comprised of the mayor as the chair and 4 commissioners. We operate under a budget of $50.9 million. The bulk of that is the wastewater treatment plant at $27.7 million or 54%, followed by solid waste at 10.2 or about 20%. And then the others are much smaller: streets at 7.6, park and rec at 3.6 million, and administration and engineering at 1.6. Our engineering department is headed by Dan Hudson, who is our city engineer. Engineering provides design and construction of public works projects, review and coordination of private development projects. We manage the annual city street paving and sewer rehabilitation programs. We perform surveying and construction inspection, and we oversee street opening permits, encumbrance permits, and outdoor dining permits. Our solid waste department is headed by Superintendent Jeff LaFleur. Solid waste provides residential curbside collection of trash, recycling, soft yard waste, and oversized items at 23,000 households. Trash and recycling is also collected at other municipal buildings such as police, fire, city hall, and other public works facilities. Approximately 21,000 tons of residential trash are collected annually. Solid waste oversees the Fort Hills landfill, which opened in 1970. We accept only commercial and residential waste from Nashua. 80,000 tons of solid waste and asbestos are accepted annually. We're currently filling in phase 3 of our landfill and have about 7 years of capacity remaining. We have a proposed phase 4 landfill, which is contingent upon New Hampshire DES approval, and that will add an additional 30 to 40 years of capacity based on current waste volumes. We compost about 8,000 tons of solid soft yard waste. That includes leaves and grass clippings. We also host the household hazardous waste collections. They're actually operated by the Nashua Regional Planning Commission, but Nashua does host most of them. We have 11 communities that participate, and we divert about 35 tons of hazardous materials from the waste stream annually with these hazardous waste collections. We also have a recycling center. Residents may purchase a $5 permit for use of the recycling center. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, Saturday, 8 to 1. We accept a number of materials. I won't read them all, but everything from single stream recycling to scrap metal, electronics, and rechargeable batteries. If you have any questions on what you think, what we accept, you certainly can call the Solid Waste Department and they'll let you know. Our wastewater treatment facility is head by Dave Boucher, our superintendent. Our dry weather capacity is 60 million gallons a day. Our average daily flow is 11 million gallons a day. We oversee the operation and maintenance of 285 miles of sanitary lines, 14 pump stations, and stormwater collection systems. Our wet weather facility increases our capacity from 60 million gallons a day to 110 million gallons a day. And that facility was built to avoid sewage overflow from discharging into the Nashua and Merrimack rivers. Also, collection systems is part of wastewater and is responsible for the upkeep and operation of the collection system. The collection staff addresses sewer and drainage backups as well. Parks and Recreation, we are currently looking for a Parks and Recreation superintendent, but hope that that position will be filled soon. We maintain 40 parks and 21 squares and other public places, over 900 acres of parkland, 151 mowable acres. We do programming and scheduling for Holman and Stella stadiums and other facilities, and tree pruning and removal. We have many recreation programs. We have 50 summer camps and clinics utilized by over 1,500 kids. We support Babe Ruth and Little League baseball and softball programs. We have 3 municipal pools that are utilized by over 22,000 residents. We do swim lessons, a 2-season walking program, winter snowshoe program at Mine Falls Park, and many trips and tours. Biddy basketball is utilized by over 1,500 kids. It is the most popular basketball program in the state. Our summer fun program was attended by about 23,000 people last year. We had 70 free concerts and events. Some other major events that Public Works and Parks and Recreation hosts are Opening Day, Fairy Tale Festival, July 4th Day and fireworks, Children's Day, the Gate City Brew Fest, which we actually operate with PAL, the Senior Outing, and Wheels and Wings, some notable programs. The street department is operated by John Ibarra, who is our superintendent. We patch and repair pavement, we do pothole repair, sweeping of streets and sidewalks, replacement of sewer and drain lines, repair of manholes and catch basins, and our mill and fill program. Our winter operations, of course, are plowing, sanding and salting, sidewalk clearing, and downtown snow removal. Under the street department is also traffic operations. We oversee 92 signalized intersections, the school zone flashers, Opticom for emergency response, snow emergency beacons and signage, sign maintenance, and our annual striping maintenance program. Our vehicle maintenance, we maintain vehicles for DPW and other city departments. Our fleet consists of over 300 pieces of equipment, and the street department is also the fuel source for most city fleets. The best place to get information on Public Works is our website. Also Facebook, we're very, very active on Facebook, so we do post a lot on Facebook. If you haven't liked us on Facebook, we're under Nashua Public Works. You can also follow us on Twitter at Nashua DPW. And if you want to contact us by email, by far the best place to reach us is dpwrequest@nashuanh.gov. Again, dpwrequest@nashuanh.gov. That goes to several of us. You likely would hear from Lauren Byers. You'll get to know, if you don't know Lauren, you will get to know her well, I'm sure, but that's the best email. And if for somebody who doesn't have email, administration phone number is 589-3140. I believe I am out of time, but I'd be happy to entertain questions now or at another time. I appreciate your time.
Anyone have questions for Director Photo? Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you, Director Photo. We appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Public Health and Community Services. Director Bagley.
Yes, good evening to our board, of Aldermen, and thank you all for your commitment to your services to the Nashua community. My team and I, which are the 3 managers for 3 of the departments, will go over the Division of Public Health and Community Services to familiarize you with our operations as well as with our staff. So public health is one of these areas where when things are going well, you don't even know that we exist. And it is when things aren't going well that people learn a little bit more about public health. So I am going to ask Kim Bernard to take us through our slides this evening. Kim, can you go to the next slide? All right, so just basically going to go over what public health is, a brief overview of our different departments and also of our services. All right, so this is just, and we did send these slides ahead of time so that you guys will have these slides and this information. Basically, there are several different definitions for public health. The one that I do like the best is the one that's here by CEA Winslow that talks about public health being the science and the art of prevention of disease, prolonging of life, and promoting health. And this is done through organized efforts and informed choices of society. I tend to think of public health as not only our responsibility as a local health department, but it's all of our responsibility as members of the community as a whole. And it's basically our interest in ensuring that we have conditions that can maintain the health of all individuals as defined by the Institute of Medicine. And our goal is to make sure that we can provide the maximum benefit for the largest number of people as defined here by the World Health Organization. We basically do that through 3 core functions of public health, which look at assessment, which is collecting of information and data to tell us about the conditions in our community. Also through assurance, which is by us working together with our partner organizations that make up the public health system, and through policy development, which allows for us to work with members of our legislative body, our Board of Aldermen, as well as with state officials and our federal officials in Washington as well. And we do this by doing services that fit under 10 essential public health services, and you'll see how those are identified through some of the programmatic work that we do in our different departments. I love this slide here. This is the public health system, and as you can see, many organizations make up the public health system. The big orange marble in the middle is our public health department or the public health agency, and then you can see there are many other marbles that make up the components of that system, which does include our legislative bodies, civic groups, our nonprofit organizations, our schools, hospitals, our faith-based organizations, employers, community health centers, doctors, elected officials, corrections. All of these organizations, agencies make up our public health system. So our system is going to be as strong as we all are working together. Next slide, Kim. All right, and so now we're going to talk a little bit about us. Your public health department for the city of Nashua serves as a chief public health strategist for not only Nashua, but also for the greater Nashua region. We are also the first and only accredited health department, and we're about to go into reaccreditation. So we've been 4 years accredited, which means that we provide quality services that have been approved by a nationally accredited organization at the federal level. Our mission at the health department is to promote, protect, and preserve the health and the well-being of the greater Nashua public health region through leadership and community collaboration. Our vision at the division is to make sure that we can have an informed, safe, healthy, and resilient community where all people can thrive and prosper. In our role of chief public health strategist, we look to bring our partners, community, legislators together when we convene in meetings, share or come up with a shared vision, operationalize that vision through planning, then through implementation, and then we measure the impact of the work that we've done. And we basically do that through good communication, through our advocacy work, and then also making sure that the resources are available in our community to be able to achieve our goal. We serve not only Nashua, but 12 surrounding towns. So these are the towns that are listed through the services that we provide. And that is done through a number of programming and as well as some grants that we receive from the state of Health and Human Services through New Hampshire, getting funds through the CDC, SAMHSA, and other funding sources. So what do we do at the division? We have a wide range of services that are provided, and each of the managers are going to go into more details about the services that are offered through their programs. And we provide trainings, presentations, and webinars also on a variety of health topics. Again, our goal is to make sure that we have a well-informed and community as well as partners to be able to meet our goal. And how do we serve? Through accreditation, making sure that we have quality services and quality staff. We also make sure through our community health assessment that we collect the data so that we know what the issues are in our community. And then we develop goals and objectives through our community health improvement plan that we implement with our partners. And we do all of these things through a strategic planning process that we have in place for the next 5 years. Okay, now I'm going to introduce you to our team. You're going to hear first from Kim Bernard, who is our Chief Public Health Nurse. And then I manage the Community Services Department. You'll hear from Heidi Peak, who is the Health Officer for Environmental Health, and Bob Mack, who is the Welfare Officer for our Welfare Department. We have an organizational chart here that lets you see the reporting structure that we have. I am a direct report to the Mayor and the Board of Aldermen. We also have a medical director who provides us with standing orders for the work that we do. And we have a Board of Health that is our advisory board for public health issues and issues that are related to our health officer. And then there's our team of 4 different departments. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Kim Bernard.
Just unmute, okay. Hi, my name is Kim Bernard. I'm the Chief Public Health Nurse and the Community Health Manager under the Division of Public Health and Community Services. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak and talk to you about what we do in our Community Health Department. So our Community Health Department strives to keep our community healthy through community engagement. And we feel that education is the key to empower our community members to make informed decisions surrounding healthy behaviors. This slide shows you, excuse me, this slide will show you our staffing, how we make up our department through staffing, as well as the services that we do provide to our community. So we do have 9 full-time staff. 6 of the 9 staff are registered nurses. 4 of the 6 nurses are city funded, that includes my position, and 2 are fully grant funded. We also have 1 grant funded community health worker. Our nurses all serve as either a program coordinator or a co-coordinator for each of the programs that are listed below. We've also had a recent addition of a behavioral health nurse, as this is a very large need in our community right now. So we're really excited that we've been able to add that nurse to our staff. We serve the community through offering services listed here. Our Mulberry Street, through our Mulberry Street clinics, we offer these services through case management and also through outreach efforts throughout the Nashua and the greater Nashua area, which Bobby had described as the 12 surrounding cities and towns. This slide shows our health clinic, and that's at our Mulberry Street location. We offer clinic services on site from Tuesdays through Fridays at several different clinics. We have different clinics for different programs that we have, such as immunizations, and this is adult and child immunizations. This also includes COVID vaccine. We also have STD, HIV, and hepatitis C testing available on different nights and days, as well as lead testing for our children in the community. Most of our services are at no to little cost to clients. No one is ever turned away for inability to pay. We also have outreach services that are delivered throughout the week, and they're on various days, and they include some of the mobile clinic services listed here, such as our syringe services, which is SANA, which is our Syringe Service Alliance of the Nashua area, and HIV testing. We also offer in-home HIV testing through our clinic. If folks call here, we can have testing kits sent directly to their home. Our full schedule is online as noted below. And that is all I have. Please let me know if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, Kim. And I'll talk about our community services, which is another department at the Division of Public Health and Community Services. Most of the staff under community services are grant-funded staff. And through this, oops, sorry, I did go back really quickly, sorry. Through community services, we work to facilitate access to program and services that develop resiliency, promote healthy behaviors, and safeguard our health. And this is, again, done through partner engagement and collaboration. Next slide, please. All right. Now, this is the staffing that we currently have at the division. As I mentioned, the majority of the staff is funded through grants. We now have 2 behavioral health staff on board. And again, because of the increases that we've seen with mental health issues, suicide, substance use disorder, we felt that it was really important to have individuals that had specific training or specialize in behavioral health. These are issues that were identified in our community health assessment prior to COVID, and COVID has just exemplified some of these things that we're seeing with regards to that. We have 4 community health workers that were actually brought on through grants that were funded through COVID response efforts through the New Hampshire Charter Foundation as well as our state health department. We have an epidemiologist who is funded by the city and 5 hours funded by grant. There are 2 program assistants that are supported through community services and provide support to all of the departments of the division as well. Public Health Emergency Preparedness Coordinator, our Public Health Network Services Strategist, and our Health Promotion and Communication Specialist all make up our team of folks under this particular department. And some of the services include, because of the assessment piece of our work, the data collection, analysis, and dissemination, health promotion and education, outreach and collaboration with community health, also with environmental health when needed, and public health emergency preparedness, which is ongoing and is work that is extended to our region and our regional partners, as well as substance misuse and the substance use disorder continuum of care, which are funded by grants through DHHS. And this slide just shows the Public Health Network Services, and we act as a primary public health resource for the greater Nashua region. As the Chief Public Health Strategist, we hold meetings with our leads through our emergency management directors for each of the towns and make sure that we provide them with information, resources, and referrals. And with our agencies or partners that are within the Nashua community, we deliver health services through substance misuse prevention, treatment and recovery, again with emergency preparedness and through strategic planning through our public health advisory committee. All right, we're data driven at the health department. This goes across all of our departments, and we use this data so that we can identify any trends or patterns of disease in our community, any emergent issues that arise. We can gather that information through our data collection. Our data collection also guides us in any local action in support of any policy changes that are needed to protect the health of our community. And we also use the data to help prioritize and mobilize resources, and also to help inform our community partners of things that they need to focus on as well. We have an interactive data dashboard that can be found on our website, and that is updated on a regular basis. And I think I have one more slide. Oh, that's it. Thank you. And we'll turn it over to Heidi Peak, who is the health officer.
Good evening, all. Thank you for letting us speak and explain a little bit about what we do at our division. My name is Heidi Peak. I'm Nashua's health officer, and I've been with the city for, I told Bobby recently, 27 years. I think it's 26 years. Once you get past 20, you stop counting to some degree. Our mission is to protect the public's health by promoting best prevention practices through science education, guidance, and enforcement of laws and ordinances. And our goal is to create a healthy and well-informed public with a balanced integration of human health and environmental protection. So it's that integration of the two. Hold on just a second. Our staffing, we're a small department. Myself, health officer, I have a deputy health officer, Ren Bodwin. We have 3 environmental health specialists, Mike McGinnis, April Torhan, and Tim Poitras, and an office manager whose name is Linda Alacones. We are entirely city funded so far. We also have no authority outside of Nashua. And for a small department, we generate a fair amount of revenue. It's important to point out too that we require at least a bachelor's degree in the sciences, preferably microbiology, biology, or chemistry. It's important to have that basic grounding of science in order to understand what we do. Listed there are our services. I like to say that if it's icky, we tend to do it. We were just involved in the most recent emergency intake of animals at Humane Society. We were only somewhat involved, but still had to walk through and assess the situation. We do a lot of septic approval and know our way around the bed bottom, and also respond to public complaints as well. But we all have to know why it's important that these things be rectified and how best to do that. The program that most people will recognize us for is our food service program, where we license and inspect the food service facilities. We have probably 525 license holders. So that's anything from a convenience store to a supermarket to full service restaurant. And as everyone is aware, they've been pretty impacted by COVID and the shutdown, et cetera. And so we've been working hard and very responsively to their needs and making sure that they're well educated, because they are continue to have a real hard time with staffing and supply chain interruptions. We also license and inspect the public bathing facilities. There are, I believe, 102 within the city, so that includes condos and different places like that, apartment buildings. And we also do, when it comes to making decisions about what happens for rabies testing, if there's been an exposure, we work very closely with the animal control officer and with the Humane Society. And other things include plan reviews, pre-planning board, technical reviews, subdivision approval, those types of things. And I think that's about it. I don't think I have another slide, do I? Nope. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And please feel free to give us an email or a call at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. And now we'll hear from Bob Mack, who's the welfare officer for our welfare department.
Thank you, Director Bagley, and good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Mack, the welfare officer for the city of Nashua. The welfare department is part of the Division of Public Health and Community Services. According to the statute, RSA 165, every municipality in the state is mandated to provide general assistance and have some form of municipal welfare. This is required by law. We are unique in that we are the only welfare department in the state that is actually directly tied into a public health and community services division. We're unique in that way, and we do interface closely with the other departments within the division. If we could go to the next slide. In following the division mission, Our goal, our mission is to promote, protect, and preserve the health and well-being of our community by helping individuals and families achieve self-sufficiency. And we do this through the direct assistance, through the general assistance program, but also referrals to our community partners, community resources throughout the community for them to meet their basic needs. Our goal is to have universal access for individuals and families to connect to these resources with an ease of access as easy as possible. We focus on barrier reduction, and we work very closely with our community partners. The city can't do it all, and we rely on those partners to meet the basic needs of low-income households and those experiencing some sort of financial hardship. The direct assistance we do provide includes short-term assistance with rent, food, utilities, medications. We also provide some assistance with burials and cremations for those that do not have any means for a decent burial or cremation, and also some limited transportation, basically local transportation services. Go to the next slide. Similar to environmental health, we're a relatively small department with only 6 staff, including myself as the welfare officer. We have a senior case technician who acts as the supervisor or second in command, if you will. My backup helps to manage the department, provides some supervision and case consultation to our 3 case technicians. And we have an intake worker who does the initial assessments and basically triage for folks coming into the department. Our senior case technician is Sandra DeLosa. She brings with her a lot of experience working in the social service field, worked for the Front Door Agency, which some of you may have heard of, providing assistance through their prevention program. She's been our senior case tech for a couple years now. We have 3 case technicians as noted here. Mikey Machete's been with us a little over 10 years. He has some case management experience working with special populations, primarily those with HIV and AIDS. Joanne Perez, she's been with us for a few years now, and she has some experience in the housing realm, both with public housing and apartment management. And we have Ira Munoz, who is our 3rd case technician. She is also a bilingual case technician, speaks Spanish and English, helps with a lot of those folks with some language barriers. And she has some great experience working with the State Department of Health and Human Services, primarily focused on employment programs. And then we have our intake worker, who is also bilingual, Yvette Brito, and she has experience with customer service in the business sector. And she, again, does a lot of the triage for folks that initially come in to seek assistance. She schedules appointments, gives the proper documents and applications for them to apply for assistance, and again, does that initial screening to see if people need to be seen immediately or can be scheduled an appointment further out. She supports our case technicians in making sure the clients are given the correct requirements to bring in for the eligibility determinations. If we go to the next slide. So we do have an application and eligibility determination process. This is based on the City of Nashua General Assistance Guidelines and some financial standards. Basically, we look at the statute, the RSA 165, and we have to determine what our process will be for folks to apply for assistance and how those, the financial requests will reflect our direct community. Each community is different, and as it says in the statute, each municipality must provide this assistance, but it must also be unique to their community. So, as you can imagine, the amount of rents in Nashua are different than the amount of rents, say, in Bow, New Hampshire, or in Keene, New Hampshire, for that matter. So we all must have unique and applicable financial standards to our communities in order to determine eligibility within our community. As Director Bagley mentioned, the division does do some regional work. We operate in the City of Nashua for City of Nashua residents. However, we do work and interface with our regional partners in that a lot of the agencies that we work with serve the greater Nashua region and not just Nashua. Nashua, being the 2nd largest city in the state, does attract a lot of folks to come to Nashua to access services, whether it's mental health services, housing services, medical services, special services, employment, education, what have you. So we do attract a good amount of folks to access those services. And so we must, again, go back to the financial standards that reflect assistance within our community directly. Again, we can't do it alone. We work very closely with different populations that need services from a lot of organizations like the Nashua Soup Kitchen, Harbor Homes, Family Promise Transitional Housing, the Norwell Home, Marguerite's Place, and on and on. There are many social service organizations in our community, and a lot of our work focuses around building those partnerships.
All right, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Alderman, for your time and listening to us talk about the work that we do over at the division. We do work very hard to keep Nashua relevant. We tend to get overlooked sometimes in the state, even though we're the second largest city. Our staff serve on boards and commissions that are out of either the governor's office or with our partnering organizations. And we do that so that we can make sure that we continue to be relevant. I do have a saying, and it is, if you are not at the table, you're on the menu. And so we make sure that we're at the table so that we can keep Nashua present and foremost as decisions are made at the state level and also around the local level here as well. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, we'll be around to answer those. And we appreciate, again, this opportunity to present to you this evening.
Thank you, Director Bagley. Next up, we have Fire. You can come up if you'd like, and you can come up and sit in one of the seats if you'd like.
Oh, this is on.
Wow.
Welcome, Chief Rhodes. Can you introduce yourself and the gentleman with you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam President. Well, first and foremost, welcome and thank you for your willingness to serve to the new members of the board. It's a big commitment, but as a resident and a 35-year member of the organization, it's worth it. We have a great city. I have the distinct honor and privilege of being the 14th Chief of Department for your Fire and Rescue Department. I also have with me this evening Assistant Chief Steve Buxton, who is also a city resident and a 25-year veteran. So we have a lot of longevity, we have a lot of history. Nashua Fire Rescue is an organization of 181 ordinary people who do extraordinary things every day. And I sincerely mean that. Our people are out there every day. They came to work every day during this pandemic. Our fire stations were fully staffed, wearing masks in the fire station, on the trucks, at the calls, and they performed to a level that couldn't make me prouder. What I'm going to ask Chief Buxton to do now is give you kind of just a brief overview of our organization. We'll provide you with some materials to take home that'll give you a little bit more information. But as Chief Buxton will tell you at the end, and I'll reiterate now, please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have a question. Chief Buxton and I are there 5 days a week. We are the only two staff that work every day. The rest of our staff is on shift. So we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Buxton. I'm the Assistant Chief of the Nashua Fire Rescue. So we have a quick PowerPoint here for you this evening. So as you can see, this is a quick picture of our fleet we took a couple of years ago. And it just states what our mission is at the fire department: to create a safe and vibrant community through risk reduction, preparedness, and a proactive all hazards response plan. So our organizational structure, we have a Board of Fire Commission that has 5 members, a fire chief, the assistant chief, 4 deputy chiefs. They're they're the shift commanders. So they're out in the field, in the street. There's one of them on duty 24/7. The specialist divisions refer to fire alarm, the training safety division, the fire marshal's office, and our fleet mechanics. And I'll tell you a little bit more about them after. Our dispatchers are the ones that process the emergency calls or any calls for business that come into our organization. And you'll see some numbers on that a little bit later on. And then our fire suppression division, this is what most people associate the fire department with. Those are the boots on the ground out in the street, the fire trucks running down and responding to emergencies. So we have 8 facilities that we staff and maintain that are placed throughout the community to allow for the most efficient operation of the fire department. 6 of them are fire stations. One of them is the fire alarm building where the dispatchers work, and then our training facility out at the Four Hills landfill. This is station number 1. It's the oldest fire station in the city, number 15 Amherst Street. Out of there we run in a fire engine, a ladder truck, and a forestry, as well as our boats. Station number 2, this is a more modern fire station. This operates an engine, a ladder, as well as our specialty teams. We have a hazardous materials team that we serve not only the city of Nashua, but also 19 communities that we operate a regional team with. We also operate a dive team out of that location. We have hazardous materials technicians and public safety divers on duty 24/7 at minimum staffing levels. Out of the Lake Street Fire Station, we also have the training safety division. They handle all the training, accreditation, certification for all of our members in the organization. This is a picture of the facility that we have out at the Four Hills landfill. We do most of our training out there. It's out of sight, out of mind. And we work very well with the Solid Waste Department in our operations out there. The building you can kind of see in the background was something that we were able to achieve through a grant process, which was federally funded. This is a little bit better picture of that facility. And those are the things we can do, live burns in there, below grade rescue. There's a flashover simulator, sprinkler and standpipe operations, and our fire engine pump testing takes place out here. This is a quick picture of our dive team. As you know, we live in New England, so all conditions, we have a saying, no ice is safe ice. So we actually train to go underneath the ice to rescue victims as well. Out of the Lake Street Fire Station, we also operate the Fire Marshal's office, who is responsible for all the inspections and investigating of all our fires that we have within the city. This involves 2 times a year, we inspect the public schools as well as the private schools, place of assembly permits and inspections in the city, daycare facilities, nursing homes, foster care homes, all the hotels, motels, dormitories, and rooming houses in the city, as well as working with the other divisions here at City Hall through tech review, plans review, and site reviews, the sprinkler permitting process, and then somewhere in there, they're able to fit in all the fire cause and origin investigations that we have within the city. This is the division of the Fire Marshal's office used to be staffed by 3 individuals. This year, we were able to secure funding for partial year of a 4th position in there to assist them in all the work that they do in there. So these are some of the numbers that they look at annually. 2,100 inspections are completed. 4,500 of those are for fire events, 75 fire and life safety complaints that we received from the public, and then 60 special events. A special event could be something as simple as the holiday stroll or the 4th of July fireworks. Before I move on to Station 3, now you can kind of see that building at Lake Street. It's a little bit bigger than the traditional firehouses that you're going to see here, and now you know why. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on inside that building. So this is station number 3 down at 124 Spitbrook Road. Out of this building, we run engine 3, ladder 3, and the forestry. And to the left side of the building, you'll notice it looks a little more modern. That's because about 2.5, 3 years ago, I believe it was, we completed an addition onto that building. Back when the original building was made, it wasn't very busy down the south end, and as we all know, that's not the case today. So, and that's a picture of Station 3 at night. This is the East Hall Street Fire Station. We call it headquarters. Out of this firehouse is the busiest engine company in the city. They do about 2,400 emergency responses a year. The shift commander, the on-duty deputy chief, also responds out of this building. The chief and myself and our 2 admins work out of this building as well. This is fire station number 5 up at 101 Pine Hill Road. It's commonly referred to as the airport fire station. However, our airport response capabilities are very limited. This is a city firehouse that happens to be located next door to the airport. Its primary response is to protect the Amherst Street corridor and Broad Street. And out of this, we operate an engine company and then what we refer to as CFR1, which is basically a foam tender. And station number 6 out at 2 Connaught Road, basically the 2 bay doors on the right-hand side is where the engine company operates out of. This is a single engine house. And then the 2 bay doors on the left is where our fleet division operates out of. They conduct all the maintenance on all of our apparatus. There's a picture again of some of our apparatus. And then the next slide, I believe, shows them performing some heavy lifting there in the division. They're responsible for all the maintenance of our emergency vehicles, our staff vehicles, the mechanical equipment. They also maintain our breathing apparatus, our rescue tools, all the emergency generators at the fire stations, and they do the snow removal at all of our facilities. This is what some elderly people in the city probably know as the Lake Street Fire Station at 38 Lake Street.
Elderly?
Sorry, sir. So this is a repurposed fire station. When we opened 177 Lake Street, this is the firehouse that we closed down. It was remodeled and the fire alarm division moved in here. There's always 2 dispatchers and a dispatch supervisor that are on duty in this building. I believe the next slide will show. This is also some of the work that takes place out in the field. The fire alarm division also has 2 wire technicians that work. We have a game well system that provides fire alarm protection to the city. Protects roughly $1.6 billion in assessed value. That involves 866 fire alarm boxes. They help the city with about 131 miles of IT cable. They answer every call that comes into our facility, as well as maintain all radio communications, dispatching for both emergencies and non-emergencies. And this is what a modern day dispatch console looks like. And then suppression force or boots on the ground, this is what most people associate the fire department with. We have 176 uniformed personnel. We handle over 46,000 calls for a service per year. Just under 11,000 of those are fire calls, 28,000 EMS calls. We also assist the public, a very large amount of calls in that area, as well as hazardous materials and dive calls. So up the north end of the city, right where Concord and Manchester Streets kind of divide, there's a little piece of land there that the Nashua Firefighters Memorial is placed at. We have 11 line of duty deaths on our department throughout its history. We gather here in the beginning of October every year to remember those that have gone before us. And it's a nice little monument. A lot of people in the city don't actually recognize what it's for, but you can find us on social media. Our website is up there. We are on Twitter, and our Nashua Fire Marshal's office maintains a Facebook page for us where they'll push out press releases and fire safety information for our community. I'd just like to add that as you saw, there's many avenues in the city where the fire department has work that they do with other divisions in the city. We do a tremendous amount of work here at City Hall with the building department, code enforcement. We work hand in hand. Usually when we have a significant emergency out there in the street, no matter the time of day or night, we get officials from all those departments to come out to give us a hand, because that's really what it's all about, is working as a team effort to get things done for the betterment of our community. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. We won't tie up too much more of your time, but feel free to reach out to Chief Rhodes and myself at any point in time.
You better keep up the press releases to the new guys. You want them, you gotta get to this.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
for
much
being
for
here.
your
There's no
leadership.
questions from the fire department? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is police.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations to the newly elected Aldermen. I really look forward to working with you in the future. My name is Kevin Rourke. I am one of the 2 deputy chiefs of the National Police Department. On March 1st, I will be sworn in as the next police chief. I was just going to give you a brief synopsis of our organizational chart. Start off, we are governed by 3 police commissioners. We have 1 chief, 2 deputy chiefs. One of the deputy chiefs covers operations, which is the Legal Bureau, Detective Bureau, Services Bureau, and Professional Standards Bureau. The other deputy chief, which is my position right now, covers uniform operations, which is all the patrol guys and all the specialty units. We have 7 captains in the building. 3 of those are assigned to patrol and cover each shift. We have a captain in the Legal Bureau, the Professional Standards Bureau, Detective Bureau, and Services Bureau. We have 9 lieutenants in the building, along with 23 sergeants. Our department is broken up into 5 bureaus. Patrol Bureau, Detective Bureau, Legal Bureau, Professional Standards Bureau, and the Services Bureau. The Patrol Bureau is our biggest bureau, and at full staff has 101 sworn members. Again, each shift has a captain, lieutenant, and 5 sergeants assigned to it. They are your initial officer in uniform who responds to a call for service. These officers can have multiple responsibilities in the department. Many of these officers are also assigned to some of our specialty units. So they have multiple duties within the police department. For example, SWAT unit, bicycle unit, dive unit, motorcycle unit, or bomb unit. Some of these officers are assigned to many units actually in the building. The captain of the shift is responsible for that specific shift. A lieutenant is responsible for scheduling of that shift, mentoring and developing the sergeants, and also seeing training for their specific officers on that shift. The sergeants, there's 5 sergeants on each shift, and they can have different duties on any given day. We typically have 3 sergeants assigned working on a regular shift on that day. One of them will be on the desk, which is in the building. They're in charge of getting the case packages together for court in the morning. They also in charge of the booking area and maintaining status of the building. They also can be in charge of the social media sites. If something is going on at a specific shift, they can put it out to one of those sites. The other 2 or 3 that also work and assign on that shift will divide themselves up within the city and be responsible for covering the officers if they have a question or they have reports to be approved. Usually they will split up the city into a north and south section. Part of patrol, we also have a detention division where we have 3 civilian booking officers. They are assigned, one is assigned to first shift, one to second, one to third. So they work Monday through Friday, whatever shift they're assigned to. So there is some other times that they are not working on Saturdays and Sundays where we will assign an officer to the booking area. We also have an animal control officer, and he is assigned to first shift. We have 14 specialty units in the department. Our second bureau is the Detective Bureau. This is our second biggest bureau within the agency. Right now, we have 55 people assigned to the Detective Bureau. The bureau is broken up into 3 divisions. The Criminal Investigation Division, which is responsible for adult offenders, crime scene, crime analysis, and evidence technicians. There is also a computer forensic unit assigned to that division. We also have the Special Investigations Division, which is responsible for juvenile offenders and victims, sexual assault investigations, domestic violence investigations, and the school resource officers are in the Special Investigation Division. We currently have 2 school resource officers. The third division is the Narcotics Intelligence Division. They're responsible for the undercover operations. We also have officers assigned to task force with the FBI, the DEA, and the US Postal. We also have a problem-oriented policing unit, which we call the POP unit, and they are also part of the Narcotics Intelligence Division. Our third bureau is the Legal Bureau, which is made up of a captain, lieutenant, sergeant, and 3 officers. We have 3 civilian bar certified attorneys. One of those attorneys works half with the National Police Department and half with the Hollis Police Department. We are in agreement with the Hollis Police Department, and they pay 2/3 of that attorney's salary. As of recently, I just spoke to the captain of the Legal Bureau. Due to the backup in court with COVID, they're currently handling almost 1,800 cases between the 9 people. Our fourth bureau is the Services Bureau. We have a captain, lieutenant. We also have 1 grant officer assigned there, and he also does community policing, along with our community policing coordinator. We have 1 PAL officer and 1 civilian admin assistant. In that bureau, we also have 4 mechanics that are assigned to the fleet maintenance. We have 4 gentlemen that are assigned to building maintenance, which they take care of the grounds and building. We have the Communications Division, which at full staff, we have 9 dispatchers and 13 call takers. Also part of the Services Bureau is the Records Division, which if you walk in the front door, you will make contact with them. We have 1 civilian manager and 5 records receptionists. Our last bureau at the police department is our Professional Standards Bureau. We have a captain, lieutenant, a sergeant, 2 recruiting officers, 3 officers in firearms training unit, and 1 training officer. We also have an accreditation manager that is assigned to the Professional Standards Bureau, and he reviews all rules and regulations and develops and updates policy. He also prepares accreditation reports. The Professional Standards Bureau, the captain and lieutenant, also conduct our internal investigations. We have a training officer who coordinates all training for the officers. Our firearms training unit is in charge of training our officers in the use of force, defensive tactics, felony motor vehicle stops, and they're also in charge of training our first line supervisors when they get promoted to the rank of sergeant. That is a new program that we started recently. We have 2 recruiting officers that recruit and hire all our officers and civilians, and they conduct background investigations on the candidates. That is a breakdown of our department. I also wanted to throw out an invitation. I know some of the new Aldermen have already taken me up on it of doing a ride along and a tour. I offer that opportunity to anybody that would like to do that. If they could just reach out to me, and I can make that happen. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Questions for
Thank you.
Deputy Rourke?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Thank you so much. Next we
Thank
have
you for your time.
Emergency Management.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Tara Murphy. I am the Emergency Management Coordinator for the city. And I have a short presentation. Okay, here we go. So within the Office of Emergency Management is only me at the moment, and I operate within the mayor's office. We maintain a comprehensive emergency management plan and hazard mitigation plan. We coordinate emergency planning in Nashua, support on-scene commanders and lead the EOC during incidents, support disaster reimbursement through FEMA public assistance program, and apply for emergency management grants to support emergency response equipment and programs. So over our initiatives, I have a couple initiatives over the next year or so. I've been helping the Nashua School District refine their student-parent reunification method. They have a current plan in place. They're just looking to streamline the process through the standard reunification method that the I Love You Guys Foundation has created. And the pictures here show the binders that have the different positions. It runs off of the ICS system, as well as some of the supplies that are in these reunification kits. I'm also looking to create a continuity of operations plan and planning to create a continuity of operations plan for the city. Continuity of operations plans basically outline the essential functions that each department carries out and how they can continue to carry out those functions when there is some disruption. The biggest in the past couple years has been COVID. And just some information on serving constituents during emergencies. There's mostly our social media page. I'm always updating regularly. That's probably the best way to get information. There's also information on our website. Channels 16, 96, and 99 have information, and the emergency information line is there. When it comes to reporting outages, constituents can report power outages to Eversource and other outages to respective utilities. And we also ask that you do not contact Eversource on their behalf or on the EOC's behalf. It's best if they call themselves. We also recommend everybody in the city sign up for Code Red. They send out emergency alerts when something happens. And we also promote public health preparedness citizen training programs. I work a lot with public health and their public health emergency preparedness coordinator. I work with a lot of other departments in the city. As Bobby mentioned in her presentation, they're a department that not a lot of people think about. Same here, until something happens, we're kind of in the background. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tara. That was a good presentation. Any questions for Tara? Okay, let's move along then. Thank you so much. Next, I have financial services. Mr. Griffin.
Good evening. Good evening, President Wilshire and members of the committee. Do I need to share my screen or do you have my presentation?
Share a screen. Share it.
Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate the opportunity to discuss the Financial Services Division. As the CFO, Treasurer, Tax Collector, I'm the Director of the division, which has a $2.4 million annual budget and about 25 full-time equivalents. I'd like to talk tonight about some of the functions that the Financial Services Division performs, namely Treasury Management, long-term bonds, tax collection and billing, motor vehicle registrations and parking violations, accounting, financial reporting, and accounts payable to pay the bills, our comprehensive annual financial report, which is the capstone submittal that we make to the government financial boards, as well as financial management. As far as treasury management is concerned, It deals with the collection and cash management, cash flow analysis to make sure we match up our cash to pay our bills and also earn some interest income from our investments. Banking services and the banking relationships that we have throughout the city and the state. Our capital equipment replacement fund management, and you folks will see that management of that function when we do our annual budget presentation. Capital equipment replacement fund is about a $3.5 million fund to timely replace our equipment across the city and the school district. We manage the short and long-term investment strategies, and we also have a fair amount of trusts that we need to account for and report to the state. With regard to long-term bonds, we've been very successful over the last several years in issuing general obligation bonds, which are tax-exempt debt instruments for the investors to raise funds for public purposes, namely school buildings, performing arts center, DPW building, roads, etc. We're in the market quite frequently. We have between $20 and $40 million of bond sales on an annual basis. And because of that, our bond sales are very competitive. We have the fortunate ratings from our credit ratings, and there's three that we use. We have 2 AAA rating bonds affirmed by Fitch Ratings and Standard & Poor's. And most recently, Moody's reached out to Treasurer Fredette and I to raise our city bond rating from AA2 to AA1. So we're one step below a AAA with regard to Moody's. Historically, over the reaffirmation of our AAA ratings, we've been noted with strong management overall, as well as strong financial policies and practices. As we go through the upcoming budget process, we've been noted to have strong budgetary performance where we can budget to provide the myriad of services to our residents and businesses, as well as come in with surpluses generally at the end of each year with appropriations not spent or revenues exceeding our conservative estimates. And finally, with regard to the bonds, low interest it results in savings to taxpayers. The most recent sales of our bonds have been under 2%, which is really attractive. As far as the tax collection and the billing, as we know, property taxes is the largest form of revenue that we receive, and we generally issue about 57,000 tax bills annually, resulting in $232 million in tax revenue. Tax, sewer, lien billing, miscellaneous billings, primarily DPW, results in several billings, but 90,000 sewer bills are rendered annually, resulting in $15 million sewer revenue on an annual basis. The delinquent taxpayers, although we have a few, we've been recognized by the rating agencies that we collect 99% of the bills rendered within 1 year of billing. And we try to work with all of our taxpayers to timely collect the bills that we render. With regard to motor vehicle registrations, parking violations, we process all city and state vehicle registration, boat registrations, etc., and have daily deposits. We have 94,000 registrations annually, so as you come into the Rotunda area, see the motor vehicle team, they do a great job processing those revenues, 15 million of which is retained by the city, and about 4 million is sent up, as I mentioned, on a daily basis to, in total per year, to the state. We do have some parking ticket violations, and those are roughly 20,000 annually, resulting in about 350,000 parking violation revenue. That revenue, if it exceeds the budget for the violations area, goes into a trust fund to help us manage future needs of parking facilities under the direction of the Economic Development Director. Just a quick pie chart on the revenue sources. As you can see, the predominant source of revenue is the property taxes, followed by other charges for services, and the auto permits are noted there, about 20% of total. With regard to the accounting, financial reporting, and accounts payable, the accounting group analyzes and reports the financial transactions for all city funds, and we follow what's referred to as generally accepted accounting principles. That is required for us to follow to receive our opinions from the external auditors. This team coordinates the annual independent audit of the city, and I'm proud to note that since I've been here in 2010 and before, the city audit has generally resulted in no findings, so that's referred to as an unmodified opinion, which we all strive to achieve, and that's a credit to the entire city for that result. As I mentioned earlier, this group prepares the city's comprehensive annual financial report, which is on the website in the financial services area, and that captures all of the finances of the city. And this is a critical piece of information that the rating agencies review as they review and reaffirm our AAA ratings, et cetera. Finally, this group develops and prepares the city's proposed and adopted budget documents, and that process will start very soon. And finally, in order to pay our bills, we have an accounts payable team that processes about $200 million annually, 25,000 invoices per year. That's the scale of that effort. The financial reports can be found on the city's website. I picked out a few that are traditionally looked at. The budgets we have from 2006 to the present. The comprehensive financial report, the CAFR that we refer to. We have monthly financial reports, so once the budget is set, we track those budgets monthly as we go from the first month of the fiscal year, which is July, to the final month of the fiscal year, which is June. And we put essentially our checkbook online through the record of expenditures. We produce the record of expenditures twice a month, and that particular document goes to the Finance Committee to approve that document that we've complied with the city charter and other requirements of the city. The record of expenditures has in the front part the traditional accounts payable items, and on the second half of that particular document is all of the departmental salaries by position. With regard to the budget, my role as Chief Financial Officer, I prepare that under the direction and leadership of the mayor. Each officer or director that you are appearing before you tonight submit itemized lists of expenditures that they'd like to propose for the fiscal year going forward under his or her control. The state statutes and city ordinances require that the adoption of an annual budget takes place. There's a particular noun called an appropriation, and this is what we have to always keep in mind. You need an appropriation to spend public money, and that's where you, as aldermen, set aside a certain amount of money for a specific purpose, and allows the executive branch, and I report directly to the mayor, allows us to spend the money that has been adopted in the budget. We also have a function in the city. We have financial managers that work with the city hall departments, with the Department of Public Works. We have these individuals that provide significant support from a financial analysis perspective, administration, advice, and guidance, grant financial management reporting. As several of the folks that went before me and after me, we do very well in grant capturing. And once we get grants from both the state and the federal governments, we need to financially manage them and report them accordingly. And then finally, these financial managers help the division directors that they work with budget monitoring to make sure we're in line with the budget that has been adopted by the Board of Aldermen. This is a group of the 25 individuals. This is the contact information for the team. I've been newly appointed, confirmed as CFO Treasurer Tax Collector. Wouldn't be a good presentation without noting the great efforts of David Fredette, who is the outgoing Treasurer Tax Collector. David taught me a lot over my 12 years with him, and I look forward to moving forward with the group that I'm going to introduce now. Rose Evans was the former Senior Manager of Financial Reporting and Accounting. She is now controller as appointed by Mayor Donchis and myself. Patty Barry is the Deputy Treasurer Deputy Tax Collector. A lot of experience. We were fortunate to get her from Hudson, New Hampshire. Cheryl Lindner, who formerly worked in the Mayor's office, has accepted the position of Treasury Management Officer. That's going to be a key role in our management. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, all that cash, banking relations, bonding, and other reporting requirements. Janet Graziano, Senior Financial Manager, works extremely well with administrative services, community, health, and public services, other divisions and departments within City Hall. And Carolyn O'Connor, happy to have elevated her into a senior management role in DPW for finance and administration. She reports to me, but works very effectively and efficiently with Director Photo, who presented at the beginning of this particular set of presentations. So with that, I appreciate your time, and we're available for questions at any time. Just feel free to contact any one of those people that we have that I've noted on this particular presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. I do have a question for you. It looks like Alderman Dowd has his hand raised.
I just want to know if you want me to quickly run through the couple slides I have on the budget process that ties in to what was just covered by.
Mr. Griffin, could you stop sharing your screen?
Oh, sure. Hold on.
Thank you. You can continue, Alderman Dowd.
So I thought it'd be a good time now to just go through the overall budget process that I had those few charts on. It'll only take a minute.
Okay.
I believe Donna has the.
If I stop sharing, I want to make sure I have.
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
You have.
You all set, Donna?
Yes, I'm all set. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, can you bring up the presentation? One I sent to you today?
Yes, I have it up on my screen.
It's not in Zoom.
It's not in Zoom?
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Put it in the presentation mode.
I don't know how to do that.
Down towards the bottom, there's a little,
Down the bottom.
yeah. Do you see it?
Slide shorter? Normal? I'm not sure which one it is. I never do.
There you go. Okay, I'm going to go quickly through the budget process as the chairman of the budget committee. And just so you have an idea how the whole process works, I work very, very closely with Mr. Griffin during the budget process. I think we talk almost every day, right, John?
Correct.
Next slide. So the budget kicks off in the March-April timeframe. Did you say earlier, John, or at the time? This year, March?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so back to the presentation.
We can see it.
Can you put up?
It's there.
Okay.
Yeah. His screen probably.
There we go. All right, going through it quickly. The mayor kicks off the budget process he sends out some guidance to all the division directors and the departments in City Hall. And as was explained, CFO John Griffin works the budget process. There's a whole bunch of departments. They may not all be listed there as far as in City Hall. They all meet with the mayor and John to go through what their requirements are. And then they meet with the division directors, police, fire, DPW, airport authority, Edgewood Cemetery, other cemeteries, public library. They all have groups that help, like police has police commissioners that put in a budget and then talk to the mayor. Same thing with fire commissioners, DPW, of course, the mayor is the chairman of the DPW, so, and the airport authority, cemeteries, they all submit their budgets. Next screen. So the mayor finally introduces a budget through legislation, and it goes to the Board of Aldermen. Then we have a first reading of the budget legislation at the Board of Aldermen meeting, and the president refers it to the budget committee. The budget committee then starts a budget review, and probably late March. So I don't know if these are updated, but anyway, so then we have at least 10 meetings, and we go through all of the divisions and departments and talk to all of the people that are putting in their budget requests. Next slide. So the budget review committee wraps up their meetings, and then they have 3 wrap-up meetings where any motions that might want to be introduced are brought up. Typically during the reviews with all the different departments, we just go through and ask questions, take down notes, and then at the wrap-up committee meetings, we talk about what we want to do. The budget committee then recommends a budget to the full Board of Aldermen. The full Board of Aldermen passed the budget. The budget is sent back to the mayor, and the mayor has several actions he can take. If he approves our budget, has no problems with it, he approves and signs, and the budget's final. If he has minor problems with it, doesn't want to sign it, but he doesn't veto it within 10 days, the budget is final. If the mayor vetoes the budget within 10 days, then the budget returns to the full Board of Aldermen. If the full Board of Aldermen overrides the mayor's veto, the budget's final. If the Board of Aldermen modifies the budget, then it goes back up to for the mayor's review and goes through this process again until we have a final budget. So, and we have to have the budget passed before the 1st of July. You'll get a lot more information, especially if you're on the budget committee on this, but I just wanted to give you an overview. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Dowd. Okay. Next, we're going to slide legal department in there. We kind of inadvertently left them off the list, so.
I think,
Yep, give me 1 second.
Alderman Sullivan had his hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on. Here he is, right here.
Alderman Sullivan, did you have a question?
Thank you, Madam President. I did have a question for Mr. Griffin. You said something, you talked about parking revenue. Does that include what comes in via meters and via the parking garages, or is that just parking tickets?
That's a good question, if I may, Madam President.
Mr. Griffin.
This particular slide, Alderman Sullivan, was for the parking violation portion of on the ticketing side. There is revenue that's generated on the metered parking, lease parking, et cetera, that's captured and tracked inside the budget. So from a parking perspective, there's parking revenue from meters and lease parking. And then on the violation side, there's revenue that deals with the tickets that are given to the residents that don't comply with the ordinances associated with parking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, we are going to open it up to the legal department. Attorney Bolton?
Thank you, Madam President. It's the legal department you'll also sometimes hear referred to as Office of Corporation Counsel, same thing. So they're interchangeable in regard to the title. I am the City Corporation Counsel. If you didn't previously know me, you had the opportunity to hear an extensive introduction of me yesterday. I think there's no need to repeat all of that or any of it. Sitting in the first row of the gallery is Nicole Clay, who's the most recent attorney to join our office. She's been with us since August, and mostly deals with right-to-know law issues, which we've had extensive opportunity to run into recently. But she will be doing general legal work as well as the other 3 attorneys in the office, myself included. Other lawyers in the office, which many of you already know, Deputy Corporation Counsel Dorothy Clark and Deputy Corporation Counsel Celia Leonard. Between the 4 of us, we have nearly 100 years of legal experience. We handle all of the civil legal issues that the city comes in contact with. We don't do the police prosecution. You heard Deputy Chief Rourke talk about their legal bureau, which does the criminal prosecution on the local district court level. We also don't do many of the tort cases, those known as civil wrongs for damages. So commonly automobile collisions, slip and fall cases, rarely defamation actions, that sort of thing. Typically through our risk department, those are handled by outside counsel. If the case is big enough, our umbrella insurance carrier is involved with making decisions on which counsel will be retained to do that. The umbrella coverage comes into play when the potential liability is over $300,000. Our office will consult on those, but generally not handle them ourselves. We do handle all the litigation related to tax abatement appeals, land use appeals, zoning planning board, that sort of thing. We review all legal instruments that the city enters into, all contracts, all deeds, agreements to purchase, lease, sell, divest any real or personal property, security instruments, guaranteeing that developers will in fact make the public improvements that they agree to make when they get their subdivision or site plan approvals. We handle most, but not all, of the collective bargaining negotiations for the city, and general legal work of all kinds and very diverse. As I said, Nicole mostly has been handling right-to-know type issues. She will be doing more and more of the general legal work. And all of the lawyers in the office are available to all of you if you have questions. We provide advice and guidance to all city officials and all city agencies. Dory Clark writes most of the legislation for the Board of Aldermen. The financial related documents, the budget itself, supplemental appropriations, resolutions to authorize the borrowing of money, the issuing of bonds, resolutions to transfer money from one account in the budget to another. Dory will work with John Griffin's people in the Financial Services Division to ensure we have all the accounts correct and things are adding up right. And so far that has worked out very well. All of us, though, all of the lawyers, and in fact our two paralegal assistants, may be involved in drafting particular pieces of legislation. So if you have desires in that regard as you go forward, please feel free to contact any of us for that purpose or any other questions that you may have. Couple cautionary notes going forward. And this would be a good opportunity if you have questions to get in touch with Nicole in the days to come. But you are subject to the right to know law, which is RSA 91-A, which is a chapter of the state statutes that can impede or enhance your work, the public's opportunity to understand what city government is doing. A couple areas of particular note: anytime a quorum of this full Board of Aldermen or any of its committees get together to discuss city business, that is a meeting. That has to be, notice of that meeting has to be posted 24 hours in advance. The public has to be informed of where the meeting will take place, and anyone who wants to attend has to be admitted. They have to be able to hear everything that's happening. They do not have to be allowed to participate. It has been customary, however, for public comment to be allowed at most of your meetings. Law does not require that. That sounds simple enough. It's a violation of the law if you meet without doing that. And meet is any communication among a quorum of the board or any of its committees. Be careful sending email. Don't send email to a majority of the board concerning a matter within the board's jurisdiction. Don't send email to a majority of a committee of the board, if you're a member of that committee, when the email it pertains to something that that committee has jurisdiction over. So sometimes people, in the most well-meaning way, run afoul of these prohibitions. Situation comes up. There is going to be a contract before the finance committee. Someone has a question and says, gosh, it seems like an awful lot of money to pay to have this fire engine reconditioned for $200,000. One of you calls the fire chief and says, is that common? Isn't that a lot of money? What are we doing? The fire chief gives a detailed explanation on why it's necessary. If you don't do this, we'll have to buy a new fire truck, and the new fire truck will cost $800,000. And a lot of good, detailed information that the one of you who speaks to the chief thinks everyone should know. Not just you. You don't want to keep it secret. You want all your colleagues to be aware. You send an email. We go to court, you will personally be liable, and you can be fined up to $2,000. You can be ordered at your own expense to take training in the right to know law. So try and avoid that. Don't send emails. Don't have meetings when you discuss city business outside of going through the posting requirements. Any get-together where you discuss city business is a meeting. There's no such thing as a work session, as a information gathering occasion. If you're there and you discuss it and it's city business, we can all get in trouble. I don't want to be in court explaining to a judge why we didn't really understand it was a violation and why it was all well-meaning and we didn't mean to exclude the public So let's all try and avoid it. And if you have any questions, call me or Nicole or Celia or Dory, and we'll be happy to discuss the particular issue. And if one of us can't give an answer, all four of us or any two or three of us will get together and we'll figure out what our best advice is going to be. So when any questions arise, don't hesitate to give us a call. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions for Attorney Bolton? Alderman Tebow.
Madam President, thank you. My question is, so I've gone to a lot of the Board of Education meetings, and I want to know what the right to know would be when people are using their phone, because I've seen BOE members, using their phone during a meeting, and people asking that the right to know, they should be able to see what's on that phone. How does that pertain to us in meetings?
Any governmental record, whether it exists as a piece of paper or whether it exists in electronic form, is subject to public inspection. Now, you can't have a member of the public interrupt a meeting to go up and grab a cell phone from a member of the Board of Education or from one of you. But they could put in a request the next day, and if that record exists, it should be produced.
Thank you.
All set, everyone? Okay, thank you very much, Attorney Bolton.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nicole. Okay, next we have Administrative Services. Director Kleiner.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of Aldermen. Thank you for having me here. I will share my screen. So we have some information that was sent to you via email. The full packet is 62 pages. I'm not going to go through it this evening. I'll skip around for you. The reason we sent so much information was we wanted to give you a feeling of the city of Nashua, of the demographics, the people, the work we do here, and then give you some background on some of the funds that we manage here at the division. So there's some financial information in the packet, and some really good information on demographics that I think you'll find interesting. Mostly here at the Administrative Services Division, we're responsible for planning and executing the administrative services kind of behind the scenes so that our divisions can operate and perform the operations that make the city run. So we operate in the areas of human resource management, employee benefits, payroll, safety, procurement, systems, information management, facilities, and all of those support services. Our division is comprised of 8 departments, and I have the pleasure of working with 61 amazing employees every day. Our departments include assessing, GIS, benefits, human resources, payroll, purchasing, information technology, risk management. We also have the Arlington Street Community Center, a grant writer, and an HRIS analyst. Here in my office, we manage the division, work with the different department leaders, put together goal setting, work on performance management, and performance improvement. We influence the matters of city policy, working with the mayor, planning, budgeting, and strategy. We collaborate with the CFO and the Financial Services Division on the citywide budget, and we participate in developing collective bargaining strategy. Here in my office, we also have Diane Vino. She's our Administrative Services Office Administrator. She assists myself and the department heads. She oversees contract management process, and she manages the right to know responses for the division. You can feel free to reach out to Diane if you have any specific questions or want to schedule a talk with any of our departments. If you cannot locate a contract on the city website or any information that you're looking for, please feel free to contact Diane and she'll get you to the right place. Just a few of our major accomplishments. So working together, we realized that we really needed to strengthen the communication with our employees and between our divisions. So we developed a new quarterly employee newsletter, and you will find in the second email that was sent to your legislative manager the last two editions. I think this gives you a good flavor of what we're trying to work on within the division. We also redid the City Hall employee break room, and we managed the entire City Hall renovation project, which included not only motor vehicles, but the city clerk office, the assessing office, and the tax office. We did lighting replacements within IT and the building department. And we've worked on new employee wellness programs such as Savory Living and Just 5. And we've developed some professional development tools, which we have shared via an employee portal. You may have heard recently about our city healthcare redesign, now accepted by 3 additional labor groups this fiscal year. Our city benefits fund is approximately $51.1 million as one of the largest expenses to the city. Working with Mayor Donchis, we developed a healthcare redesign last year and have worked very hard to get it negotiated into all of the labor collective bargaining agreements that we are currently in negotiations with. We've developed new management tools to make efficient employee management, and we've developed an IT department technology inventory system, which tracks where all of our IT equipment is at any given time. As you know, we provide all of the IT equipment throughout the city, and that's quite a feat. You might have been in contact with our technology group yourselves about your Aldermatic equipment. They handle an amazing amount of equipment from that group comprised of 3 people. We've also completed an assessing update of our CAMA system, which is called AP5. We did a city GIS upgrade. When I get to GIS, I'll introduce you to Pam Andruskevich, who would be happy to meet with any of you and give you a tutorial in GIS. We hired a new chief assessor, Mr. Vincent, and a new purchasing manager, Ms. Parkinson. During COVID-19, which has been a difficult time for all of us, I know, we managed the successful shutdown and security of City Hall. We implemented and managed the COVID-19 supply unit, supplying PPE and sanitation supplies to all of our city divisions, as well as some nonprofit organizations and some businesses in collaboration with United Way. We assisted the Emergency Operations Center with COVID-19 policy setting. We developed the return to work guidelines, secured technology, and worked on the reconstitution plan. We've conducted citywide building evaluations and recommendations for engineering and administrative and PPE changes to help prevent the spread as we brought City Hall staff back to work. The Arlington Street Community Center is located at 36 Arlington Street over in Ward 7. It officially opened in October of 2017. You can reach out to Director Karen. She would love to give you a tour of the center and show you what they do, but they serve over 600 community members annually. The center is funded by a supplies budget from the city budget of $3,000. All of the supplies and the work that Director Karen does works through donations. They also partnership with local nonprofits, community organizations, and the cost of programming is about $4.70 per person per fiscal year. They provide some excellent programming, especially to our young pre-K students, and they do focus on academic achievement, health and social sciences, and youth and family development. Our assessing department, led by our new chief assessor, Rick Vincent, manages over 29,000 properties in the city with a total taxable value of over $10 billion. The assessing department is a 9-person department, and they have 2 residential assessors, 2 commercial assessors, and 4 administrative staff members, in addition to the chief. Each year, the administrative staff processes the applications for various credits and exemptions that are allowed under state statute. And in the document that we provided to you, there is a link that you can click and you will find out about all of those different application deadlines and the requirements for all of those exemptions. We do work, they operate under the Board of Assessors, which is a 3-person board, which meets twice a month in the city auditorium, generally the 1st and 3rd Thursday of every month. The assessing department's current projects, one of the largest is one I'm sure you're well aware of, which is the revaluation. Vision Government Solutions has been hired to complete a citywide revaluation of all properties, bringing assessments in line with the 2022 market values. The assessing department does have available on the city website a page dedicated to updating our city residents on the revaluation and providing up-to-date stats on where we are, what ward we're working in, and where you can get the very latest information. A special Board of Aldermen meeting was held on November 15th, and the presentation from that meeting would be online. That would give you some information on where we thought the revaluation was headed. The benefits department works with HR and payroll and my office very closely. They've worked on the benefits redesign project aimed at lowering costs. We've implemented a new health savings account administrator and successfully completed one of the city's first dependent audits. All these were aimed at saving the city money while optimizing the benefits that we can provide our city employees. We provide education on programs such as Smart Shopper and mobile health. And we are now working to revamp our wellness committee so that we can provide up-to-date and programming and include more employees from different divisions in that process. The GIS department, which I noted earlier, was Pam Andruskevich. Their mission is to collect and maintain spatial data and attributes of city features and assets. This data is available for mapping, and it's available off the city website. There's the GIS viewer as well as pictometry. They also have a property sales search, and we urge you to take a look at it. If you have any questions, please contact Pam. She'd be happy to walk you through it. Sometimes you'll see this information used in various city presentations, often by community development or the economic development director. Pamela Davies joined us about a year and a half ago as the city's grant writer. She is shared half with the city and half with the school department. Lately, she has worked with not only economic development, transit, the city clerk, as well as the schools, but she has brought in 1.3 million in city funding, approximately 200 in school funding, and 440,000 in kindergarten readiness just in this past quarter. Pamela looks and works with divisions on finding up-to-date grants and then putting forth winning applications. Our Human Resources Department is managed by Nancy Trask. Human Resources is responsible for supporting our 800 plus city employees. They administer 14 union agreements, and it consists of 3 people: the HR manager, the specialist, and the administrative assistant. She also routinely works with city payroll and city benefits, and they are responsible for the posting and the fulfilling of all job openings within the city. They work very hard to onboard all of our employees, and they oversee leave plans, tuition reimbursement, performance management, and enrollment into retirement or pension plans. They work with the employees throughout their life cycle at the city. The Information Technology Department is really separated into 3 groups: the infrastructure, the applications development, or what we call project management, and the technology team. Infrastructure is mainly Nick Miservich, who is also our Chief Information Officer and oversees the security within the city. Our applications and project management team is Jason Toohey, and they really work on not only our web development, our enterprise applications, our online payment services, our financial services, database, but they're also instrumental in bringing forth and helping with development of any of our new applications that we bring into the city. As I mentioned, the technical support team consists of 3 people, and they work on the desktop support, laptop support, printers, citywide print management, any loaner equipment, mobile devices, any video and AV support, hardware testing. They manage the citywide Cisco telephone system, any new user setup and configuration, They troubleshoot and they work on mobile phone support. I'd like to note that at any time, should you have any concerns or need any support, you can email our help desk at nashuanh.gov, and they will get in touch with you. There's also a phone number in the packet we provided, and the line is monitored Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. The email is generally the best way to reach them, and if it's urgent, they will contact you immediately. We also have the PEG programming, which is the Nashua Public Education and Government Access Channels. And you may have heard Jeff Poner at the beginning of this meeting. He is managing the Zoom for you all tonight. Nashua's Public Access Channel offers non-commercial public access to a variety of different shows, whether it's cooking, arts and crafts, health, current affairs. That's your channel 96. There's also channel 99, which is Nashua ETV. That's where you'll find the Board of Education meetings and the educational television offerings. Nashua's ETV also works with providing some of this school sports. You may have seen that. The government channel, TV 16, is the TV channel you're most probably aware of, as that's the channel that all of the government programming, the Board of Aldermen, Board of Assessors, any city government projects and training programs, those would all be on the channel 16. The Payroll Department operates both a weekly and bi-weekly payroll for approximately 3,000 full-time and part-time employees for the city and the school district. Right now, this department has a payroll manager and a payroll analyst. We currently have an opening for an additional payroll analyst. They ensure compliance with the New Hampshire Department of Labor and federal agencies on all payroll requirements. They provide weekly data to various third parties, whether it's for benefit deductions, New Hampshire retirement system, and tax withholdings. One of the city's initiatives is to reduce paper. You'll hear that both in IT with the technology group who works on print management. Well, it's also here live with the payroll department as well, as we work with city employees to enroll in direct deposit and try to get electronic pay stubs. Ms. Parkinson is the manager of the purchasing department, and it does oversee the decentralized function of procurement for all our city departments. The purchasing manager works with a purchasing assistant, as well as runs the mail messenger system, which delivers mail from all of City Hall, within City Hall, and to all of our divisions. They also oversee the print shop, which is located on the bottom floor of City Hall, which does a majority of the printing in-house for all of our divisions. The purchasing department is responsible for preparing information for the Finance Committee approval on purchases that total over $25,000 for any project or item change order that increases the total by more than $25,000 and by all multi-year fiscal contracts. Included in the Finance Committee packet each week, you'll see a summary memo from the purchasing manager that will give you a detailed view on how the procurement process was led, any information on a quote or a contract, and any project detail. And you may have received a memo on some changes that were made to the purchasing ordinances in December. That memo is also located in the packet that we sent this afternoon for your review. The Risk Management Department, overseen by Jen DeShays, identifies and evaluates any risk associated with activities and operations of the city and the school department. It tries to control, reduce, transfer, and eliminate, and as well as finance those risks. It has 3 key functions: risk management, loss prevention, and claims management. They make the decision on whether to self-insure, insure, transfer the risk, or avoid the risk. They review the risk on any city activity, they review any contract, and they also review the details of any events. They manage the city and the third-party insurance. They maintain a federal commercial driver program for our CDL drivers. They monitor all internal and external city cameras and building security within the city. And they also oversee the building department within the city, which maintains all of our city buildings. They do all of the safety training within the city at city divisions. They also work with the city committees, one at each school district location. They conduct work site and building inspections, and they oversee and 40 functioning joint loss safety committees across the city. There is a property and casualty fund that the risk manager works with, currently budgeted at $4.8 million. She works very hard to manage the expenses of our insurance, which this past fiscal year was quite difficult. COVID has impacted many of these areas, but some of our insurance that she does work with is workman's compensation, general liability, cyber liability, medical malpractice, property loss, and motor vehicle. The City Buildings Department is located at the bottom floor of City Hall, and they provide general building and grounds maintenance as well as custodial service here at City Hall. They also work on the public health building, and they ensure that the building systems, whether it's mechanical, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, are all up to date and working. They assisted with the completion of the renovations here at City Hall, as well as worked on the renovations to your aldermanic chamber. They worked on the disinfecting program in order to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and assisted with the implementation of protocols throughout the pandemic. They have oversaw the completion of the fire sprinkler and fire alarm panels at our 14 Court Street location, and work very closely with our renters at 14 Court Street every day. They also manage the Gilson Road storage facility, work with the Senior Activity Center, work with the Arlington Street Community Center, and various vacant buildings like NIMCO and any other building that the city may own even for a short period of time. And that's most of the presentation. We did include the COVID-19 return to work policy in the packet for you. That is so that you can see the most current policy that was just signed this morning by Mayor Donchis. We included an overview of the benefits self-insurance fund. And that's the document that I think that you'll find interesting because it includes city demographics, not only on our benefits plan, but also on our aging workforce. The city benefits self-insurance fund is a little over 51.1 million in expenses and has a current balance today of $8.3 million. Also included is some plans of City Hall. So when you're navigating your way around City Hall, there's changes to city ordinances that directly affect the Administrative Services Division. And then, as I noted earlier, our two most recent city newsletters, which give you a taste of various city programs. One of the areas that we would like to see more focus is the development of our city staff. We have some of the most hardworking city employees, and they deserve the most recent and up-to-date professional development that we can give them. You may have seen an article about an emerging leaders program in the Union Leader this past weekend, and that is a project that we would like to work at here within the city as well, so that we can help to develop the city's next leaders. Thank you, Madam President.
All set, Director Kleiner?
I am, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation this evening. Does anyone have questions for Director Kleiner? Seeing none, we're going to move on to community development.
Good evening, President Wilshire, members of the board. Thanks for allowing us tonight to come in and speak to you. And as a Ward 1 resident, I just want to say thanks to all of you who are out there and your commitment to the city. It's really, really important. As Kim just said, we've got a really great staff working for the city, and it's important for us to be able to work with you folks. So I just want to say, I'm wearing a lot of hats tonight that I don't normally wear. So bear with me, if you will. We've got a really great community development team, and I'm here tonight representing that team while we're in the process of searching for a new community development director. So I'm kind of taking the wheel here, and I'm just going to give you a little overview on what community development is all about. Our mission really is to guide the city and the citizens in pursuing a clear vision for the future, and to provide the tools and the mechanisms and the framework needed to implement that vision. One of the major tools that was just recently completed is an update of our master plan. It was a huge undertaking, and thanks to Matt Sullivan and so many other people with such a community-centered process, we've got a really great plan that I think is going to do well for the next several years. But in addition to master planning, we've also got planning and zoning regulations, public space design, environmental contamination mitigation, preservation planning, natural and cultural resource planning, affordable housing initiatives, downtown revitalization, and all of those things that we do, we don't do it in a vacuum. We do that in conjunction with all the other divisions and departments that you have heard from tonight. Community Development Division is a division of 6 departments. We've got building safety, urban programs, waterways, planning and zoning, code enforcement, transportation. 5 of those you can actually find there in City Hall. So as you're leaving tonight, which you will do at some point, I assure you, when you leave the chamber and you're heading back towards the Elm Street parking garage, you're going to see some big wooden doors. That is it. You walk through there, and two of the women who are the permit techs for the Building Safety Department can help you out. So come in anytime. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can call our general number 589-3095. If you have any questions, not sure where to turn, give us a call. We'll put you, connect you with the right person. And the city's website, of course, has all of this information if you are so inclined to go and check it out there. So again, the first thing that I was going to do tonight was introduce Bill Mckinney. He's the manager for the Building Safety Department. Bill was unable to join us tonight. He had another meeting that he had to attend. And I will just give you a brief overview. The Building Safety Department is a lot more than just issuing building permits. They do plan review, they issue permits, and they do inspections of new construction, alterations and renovations of homes, building systems like plumbing, electrical, heating systems. They do investigation and compliance of unpermitted work. They educate contractors and citizens on building and life safety codes. So they've got a lot going on in that department. And in addition to Bill, he has a staff of, he's got a plans examiner that's also the deputy manager. He's got the 2 permit techs that work out front. And he's got 4 inspectors. I will say that over the COVID period, those 4 inspectors had to convert to doing their home inspections remotely. So they used tablets and they got all up to speed on how to get that done. So some kudos to them. But fun fact of the building department, they issue 5,000 permits a year and they conduct over 8,000 inspections. So that's a busy group we got there. I'm going to take off my building safety hat. I'm going to put on my urban programs hat. We are also in the process of trying to find a new department manager for urban programs. So a shout out if anyone has some experience with federal funding, feel free to give us a call. Check out our AppleTrack on the city's website. The urban programs department is a fully federally funded department. It's got, at some point, it will have a new department manager and 5 people that work there. Those folks have managed over $30 million of federal funding over the last 10 years. So the objective of the urban programs department is to help identify community need and to improve quality of life for lower income families and individuals. They collaborate with community groups. They obtain and administer federal, state, local, and private resources to address community needs, and they promote fair and equal housing. Now, the city of Nashua is what HUD considers a recipient community, and that really gives us an advantage because we receive HUD funds directly. And it's this department that administers these funds. They've got programs that include affordable housing, housing rehab, lead paint and healthy homes, homeless prevention, and all of those funds are federal dollars. One of the things that's coming up soon, for those of you who might be on the Human Affairs Committee, you're going to see some community development block grant applications coming in front of you in the not too distant future. So we'll keep you posted on that. I think there's going to be a public hearing in February. Now, my favorite department is the Waterways Department. That's my department. That's the hat that I wear normally. And I am actually a department of 1, which allows me to spend some time sort of operating as the interim director for community development and making sure that the ship doesn't sink before we get somebody new on board. But I hear we've got some resumes, so we're looking like we're in good shape. Waterways Department, the main objective really is to maintain healthy waterways. So the Nashua River flows right through the center of town, and our eastern border is actually the Merrimack River. So I take particular close attention to both of those. We've got streams, we've got ponds, we've got the historic canal. And really what we're trying to do is make sure that we're keeping those water bodies pollution-free and free of invasive species. So we've got a management program that we work with the state to help maintain what we've got out there. I also manage floodplains. So it's really about risk reduction when it comes to flooding and increasing flood awareness. Trying to make sure that there is access to waterways, recreational opportunities. If you haven't gone kayaking out on the Nashua River yet, I highly recommend it. We've got some really great boat launches available for folks that are going to be kayaking or canoeing, small boats. You can launch over at the Mine Falls Park boat launch area. And what I really lately have been spending most of my time on is managing infrastructure, including the 2 hydroelectric facilities that the city owns. There's one over, again, near that boat launch at Mine Falls, at the Mine Falls Dam. And then we've got another hydro facility over where the Margarita's restaurant is at the dam that you see between the library and Margarita's, both on the Nashua River. And they generate enough power for about 9,000 homes a year. And that provides us actually with a fairly substantial revenue of about $1 million each year. So those are the hats I'm wearing tonight. I'm gonna transfer the hats over to the first the planning department, then we're gonna hear from code enforcement, and then we're gonna hear from the transportation department, the transit system. So I'm gonna introduce Matt Sullivan, Director of Planning.
Great, thanks, I appreciate it. And thank you to all the Board of Aldermen who are in attendance this evening to learn a little bit more about what we do in the Community Development Division. My name is Matt Sullivan. I'm the Planning Department Manager for the City of Nashua. Had a chance to meet a few of you, and for those that I haven't, I look forward to an opportunity to sit down and talk with you about what your vision might be for land use and community development within the city moving forward. Within the Planning Department specifically, our primary mission is to provide support and leadership when guiding the city in the process of implementing its land use and built environment vision within the community. A lot of that is actually laid out within the city's master plan that Deb mentioned just a few minutes ago, which was most recently updated in 2021, and is codified within our land use regulations, policies, and code. Not the most exciting stuff in the world, but really is critical to how what our community actually looks like when projects come in and are reviewed by our land use boards and committees. The department itself is a team of 7, including myself. We're broken into 2 primary tracks, the way that I think about it at least, and that is planning and zoning. And though we're divided into those 2 tracks independently, we really work collaboratively on a lot of projects that happen in the city, both at the sort of building permitting level and also at the large scale land use development level. Really projects that we look at have an element of both planning and zoning, and so much of our work is collaborative, not only internally, but also with departments such as the Building Safety Department, the Fire Department, amongst others. So really a collaborative approach to project review within the city. In order to carry out our mission of implementing the city's long-term vision and guiding that vision, we provide critical staff support to various boards and committees within the city that you've likely heard of. And specifically what I'm referring to is the Planning Board, the Zoning Board, the Historic District Commission, the Conservation Commission, and the Capital Improvement Committee. But on top of that, we also provide technical support to the Board of Aldermen, of course, and their technical committees as well as we work through legislative action. We play a key role, as I mentioned before, in much of the building and land use application process that's happening in the city in partnership with the Building Safety Department and Bill Mckinney. So if there's a project happening that you see or you see something or hear something, we're probably a good point of contact for you to get some more information about what's going on, or the Building Safety Department. We want to be that resource for you serving your current positions. But perhaps our most critical role, and the one that I like to talk about the most, that I'll touch on briefly this evening, is our support to long and short-term community development planning efforts, including just a few recent ones that you might be aware of: the 2021 Imagine Nashua Master Plan, the Riverfront Master Plan that's currently in the process of being implemented in partnership with the Economic Development Division, the 2020 Citywide Housing Study, and subsequently the just recently passed 2021 Inclusionary Zoning Update, Capital Corridor Rail Planning, And one effort that I look forward to working with you on as the Board of Aldermen is a comprehensive update to the city's land use code, which we expect to begin over the next year of time. That will form, as I just mentioned, the foundation of much of the land use change and protection that we see happening across the community for decades to come. So it's an effort that the aldermen will play a critical role in addition to the planning board, and I look forward to an opportunity to work with you on that. In the end, our department, like many in the city, is really essentially focused on ensuring that our public processes are equitable, transparent, and predictable for residents, applicants to our land use boards, and of course the public. I wanted to touch on all of that briefly for you this evening, but naturally, please feel free to reach out to me directly to have a discussion about something that might be going on within your ward, of course, or something going on in another that you might want to have a discussion about. We want to be a resource for you as we look forward to guiding change within the community. Thank you so much, and I'm going to pass it off to Nelson Ortega, the Code Enforcement Department.
Thank you, Matt.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Nelson Ortega. I'm the Code Enforcement Manager for the City of Nashville. I've been with the city 24 years in May. My first 10 years was as the code officer and the remaining as the manager. I have 3 code officers, Kyle Metcalf, Rob Sousa, and Lawrence Phillips. Both Kyle and Rob have been with the city for a little over 13 years, and Lawrence has been with the city a little bit over 2 years. Our primary function is Nashua housing enforcement. Anything that's a rental in the city of Nashua that's occupied, we enforce and make sure that all the city ordinances, zoning ordinances, and even planning ordinances that may govern Nashua housing are looked at and complied with. We work closely with the Building Safety Department on a regular daily basis. We go out and we will go out and inspect things and just make sure that things are in compliance. We work closely with the environmental health, with the Fire Marshal's office, and also we have a liaison with the Nashville Police Department. Our function is we take complaints. We're unfortunately more a reactive department because we're only a staff of 4 for the entire city, and each code officer basically on their own is carrying anywhere from 130 cases to 90 cases at one time, and it's a tough job. One inspection can take 15 minutes, another one can take 3 hours. It just depends, and that's just not on a one-day basis. That can go on for weeks, if not months, depending on the type of case we're working on. We will also assist other city departments if they feel that they need help with some sort of enforcement action. All we ask with those departments is that they take the first step to make contact with the resident. We also enforce, besides the tenants, rental units, we do have some enforcement on single-family homes. Owner-occupied homes are more restricted. We have no jurisdiction over the interior of someone's home if they're the owner and the occupants of it. We do have jurisdiction over the exterior, and even those ordinances are restricted. So because you as a homeowner, you do have rights. So we have to work with everyone to make sure we try and get compliance. Any complaints for us, they come from anywhere in the public, from a tenant making a complaint to a landlord making a complaint to a neighbor complaining about a neighbor. It all comes into the office. We have an intake also, and Jill Prince, who's also she works both with building safety and code enforcement, and she'll take the initial calls for a complaint and then send them out to me. I then review the case and decide which code officer is going to handle that case. We work closely with urban programs when we have an issue that we know that someone doesn't have the financial means to address something. We would refer them to urban programs and see if there's any federal help that they can give that particular property owner to see if they can help them come in compliance. We deal with the lead program. We have one code officer who's one of his duties is when he's out there, if he sees a property that can probably benefit from the lead program, then he is to make referrals to the lead program. Their intake person takes that, and then from there, the intake individual runs with that and makes contact with the property owner if they so wish to pursue it. So we wear a lot of different hats when we're out there. We're code officers, but we're advisors, we're mediators. We deal with a lot of landlord-tenant conflicts, but for the most part, we do have a good compliance rating. We will issue citations. We're kind of a three-strike department. We'll ask you the first time, give you the violation the second time, and the third time it's just go to court. Because we have so many of these cases going on. And for the most part, we get very good compliance. We probably are a 90% compliance with whenever we deal with a case. We will have those on occasions that become challenging, but I think once we talk about it and everybody discusses what is it they're looking for, we come out with a good remedy. We do issue citations to landlords. We do issue citations to tenants if that needs be. Those tenants are responsible for the interior of their home per ordinance. And we do have a good relationship with the community. And if you have any issues, don't ever hesitate to call code enforcement. We will take your questions, we'll take your complaints, we'll look into them. Like I said, we get our complaints come from anywhere from an alderman to the mayor's office to just even someone who might have come in and say, hey, I stayed at this hotel, I didn't like the way the unit was. Of course, we take the complaints, but we would refer those to another department that handles the management of those complaints. But we do work closely with a lot of the landlords. There's an ordinance that all tenants must follow. If a tenant wants to complain about a landlord, by ordinance, they must give the landlord written notice with 14 days time frame to work on their complaint, address the issue. If that 14 days comes and goes, then the tenant's required to call us and say, hey, Nelson, I sent you a letter, I gave the landlord a letter, nothing's happened. Then code enforcement now has the authority to call that landlord or inspect the property. We still call the landlord when a tenant lets us know out of courtesy. We say, hey, just so you know, your tenant called, let us know about a deficiency. They're gonna send you a notice, but we wanted you to know ahead of time. It's strictly for them to know that that letter's coming. Because a lot of landlords really, they don't want the problems. They want to address it and rectify it. And that works pretty well. We've been doing that since I've been here 24 years now. All landlords are allowed a certain amount of time per ordinance to address an issue, the same as a single-family homeowner when they're in the exterior. So everything for us is governed by ordinance. If it's an ordinance and we can enforce it, we will. If we don't have an ordinance, then we have to, work with what we have. Again, our technical people, when we have issues with zoning, is we go to the zoning department and we talk with the zoning administrators there and say, hey, we have this issue, what do you think? Same thing with planning, building safety, and then, like I mentioned, the fire marshal, the environmental health department. Anyone who all those departments I mentioned also have enforcement capabilities. So we work closely with them to make sure that you don't have 5 different people calling one person. It just seems an overdoing it. So we become the center of the enforcement action for those departments. But basically that's code enforcement in a nutshell. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to call myself or the 589-3100, which is the general line for code enforcement. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have if you call, or any questions that you may have this evening. Other than that, that's code.
Thank you, Nelson. Jeff, is that it for your department?
One more.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Camille Correa. I'm the Transit Administrator for Nashua Transit System. The City of Nashua offers many programs for public transportation under 2 different types of service. Fixed route service, which is same-day service, which operates along a fixed route and can be accessed by the city bus at a bus stop. And also, they offer the call-ahead service or van service utilizing vans or smaller buses where people can access the bus either curb to curb or door to door, depending upon the passenger's needs. Each one of those services are fully accessible for persons with walkers, canes, and wheelchairs, especially for people who would like to age in place but need public transportation to get them to and from where they need to go. Each of those services operates 6 days a week, and the City of Nashua also has a transit center located at 30 Elm Street between the parking garage and City Hall. At the transit center, people can purchase tickets, find out information, ask for ride guides, and it also has a waiting area where people can sit on the inside of the building while they're waiting for a bus or in between routes. For all information in regards to public transportation in the City of Nashua and all the programs that are offered, all of the information is on the city website under Nashua Transit System, or you can just give us a call because we're old school. We still pick up the phone and talk to people on the phone and walk them through about public transportation and all that's offered in the City of Nashua. Thank you for your leadership and thank you for your time. And I look forward to working with you and for you and also meeting you in person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah?
Yep, we're good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all your support tonight. All right, next we have the library.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jen McCormick. I'm the director at the public library in town. I've worked for the city now for just about 12 years. And I tell everybody that it is the best library job in New England. I'm really proud of the work we do and I'm glad to serve the city. I have just one slide tonight with a few details about what I'm going to share with you. Bear with me. The library employs 40 employees and 37 of those are full-time, so about 38.5 full-time equivalents. Our appropriated budget for this year is a little over 3.5 million. That includes employee benefits. We also have other funding sources, including some trust funds that are administered by our Board of Trustees. We do collect fines for overdue or lost items, and we have funding support from the Friends of the Library as well. The library is governed by a 9-member Board of Trustees. 2 of those members are the mayor and the president of the Board of Aldermen, and the other members are appointed jointly between the Board of Trustees and the Board of Aldermen. Trustee terms are 7 years long, and we have some really long-serving trustees and some excellent new members of the board. The library is currently open 51 hours per week. Before COVID, we were open closer to 69 hours per week. We're open to the public on 6 days. On Fridays, we don't have hours for the public currently, but there are staff in the building working to fulfill holds, do shelving and other projects. The library is a fairly busy place, not as busy as we were before COVID. To date in this fiscal year, we've been seeing about 400 customers per day. Mondays and Tuesdays are a little busier. Before COVID, that number was closer to 1,800 to 1,000 people per day. So we're hoping to get back to those numbers. We're a busy place. We circulate an average, this is for fiscal year 2022 to date, 21,000 physical items and 7,400 digital items per month go out of our doors or go out over an app. And we've had 10,000 database sessions during fiscal year 2021. I don't have stats for those. So a database session might be a student at the high school looking for help on a project. It could be someone looking for newspaper articles. We have other online learning databases like Transparent Language. Excuse me. Our mission at the library is to support learners of all ages. So besides their database, we also offer the services of reference librarians. There's 2 reference librarians on duties all of our operating hours. We also provide interlibrary loan services and can get books and materials from other libraries across the state and across the country. We also, if you haven't been in the library in the last couple of years, we have meeting room space available downstairs in our renovated Chandler wing. There are 7 different meeting rooms of different sizes. We have small rooms that can accommodate 1 or 2 people, a couple of larger conference rooms, a computer training room. And those are available to individuals and nonprofit groups anytime that we're open. Those rooms can be reserved online, or you can give us a call or come in person. We also offer a pretty wide variety of cultural and educational programs. Because of COVID, the larger percentage of those are still being offered virtually, but we're hoping, if numbers cooperate, to go back to our in-person concerts and lecture series over the summer. In-person story times were suspended for a while during COVID, but we did start those up again in December, and we're happy to have 20 or 30 folks for each of those, and glad to see them back. Excuse me. We also support Nashua citizens by offering free computer use and high-speed internet. That's been very valuable to people involved in remote learning, but it also supports, dozens of people every day that come to use our computers to communicate with family, apply for jobs, participate in the economy, and just generally enjoy enriching reading and viewing. There are a few major initiatives I wanted to share with the group tonight because I think they'll come to your attention in the next year or so. We are just wrapping up work on a new strategic plan. This plan will carry us through the next 3 years, and it has some important strategic directions, one of which is care for our physical plant and grounds, and that speaks to the second point under major initiatives. This spring, we will begin work with an architectural firm on an assessment of the library facility and the creation of a building master plan. The library building is 50 years old. We turned 50 this past September, and almost everything in the building is original equipment. So the building envelope and all of the mechanical systems are really at the end of life or nearing it. And the board is working with the architect to come up with a list of priorities and cost estimates so we can work with the city and the Board of Aldermen on what needs to be done to keep the building operating. Along with that facility assessment, we also worked with community development a couple of years ago to come up with a plan to renovate the plaza area between the library and 14 Cork Street. That's a 3-phase project that will correct drainage and accessibility issues. It'll replace all of the lighting, replace all of the hardscape, and add some features like electricity and water on the grassy side of the plaza that will help us and other city agencies and organizations use that space for active programming. That is a really brief presentation of what the library is about. I'm happy to answer any questions. If any of you are not familiar with the library, if you haven't been in the building recently or at all, I would be really glad to give you a tour, and I look forward to sharing our strategic plan with you once it's complete, hopefully in the next month or so. And that's it from me, President Wilshire.
Thank you. Appreciate your being here this evening and your patience for being down on the list. Appreciate that. Okay, next on our list is we're going to squeeze in economic development. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Cummings. Come on up.
Yes, thank you. Do you mind?
Just for this slide?
Yeah, actually, can I grab two? Thank you. So, good evening, Madam President. Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. I'm going to share my screen here as well for those of you who participating remotely. You'll be able to see what I actually just handed around, and I'll make sure Donna gets a copy for the minutes this evening. It's essentially just a few slides of economic development and how we deliver economic development services to the city of Nashua. So with that being said, I promise I will keep my presentation brief this evening. We could have a long-term conversation about economic development and what economic development means to all of you, but I would rather do that on another night. I often appear before a lot of the members of the board, a lot of members of the committees, and particularly the Infrastructure and PEDC committee, and I suspect I will be before you in short order to have some of that conversation. But what is economic development? And I just want to kind of briefly outline that there's no real single definition of what economic development is. Every community defines it differently. Essentially it's about enhancing your community, improving your community, and communities do that in all different types of strategies and needs. Here in Nashua, we've taken a long-term view of what economic development is in terms of mainly infrastructure types of improvements. So this next few slides are actually from the city's ordinances or charter. The mission as defined by the city of Nashua through our code. The mission of the economic development function is to promote a diversified, sustainable, vibrant economic development base that maintains a high quality of life for Nashua residents and businesses. And then specifically my role as the Director of Economic Development, I shall have the overall responsibility for developing programs to enhance economic vitality of the city, including maintenance of strong communications between the business community and the city, fostering opportunities for job retention, existing business expansion, promoting expansion of the labor force, promoting employment diversity and growth through new business recruitment, encouraging the continued enhancement and vitality of the downtown Nashua as the focal point of the community and as a desirable place to live, work, shop, and conduct social discourse, and oversight and management of public parking lots and garages and meters. So something that I want to just point out, a question came up earlier this evening about parking operations. All parking operations works through the Office of Economic Development under the management of Jill Stansfield. There was a question specifically about the trust fund that's set up to support parking operations. That all comes from parking violation money, so tickets goes into that particular trust fund. However, there's a separate trust fund where excess money over $728,000 gets transferred into another trust fund that the Downtown Improvement Committee oversees to enhance the downtown. It's essentially what's referred to oftentimes as a parking benefits district. Other duties, in addition, the director shall also undertake such special studies, projects, and other related duties as may be assigned by the mayor to promote economic development and undertake or assist in the development and implementation of immediate and long-term range plans of economic development to improve the city and maintain up-to-date statistics on the economic conditions of the city. And so that's essentially what I by code do. Some special projects that I am particularly involved with. The DPW Administrative Office building. I am the in-house project manager for that. That is a joint, that is a project that is managed and overseen by a joint body of the Infrastructure and Board of Public Works Committee. I am currently in the midst of implementing the Downtown Riverfront Plan, as you heard a little bit ago. We are continuing with the implementation of the Performing Arts Center. So some projects that have been of particular interest over the last few years that have been priorities. The School Street redevelopment. So my office also disposes of real estate and deals directly with a lot of the real estate developers within the community. One such parcel of land that the city decided that they wanted to put out for development was a surplus parking lot, which is currently under construction right now with apartments. The Performing Arts Center, which is a project that I think most folks are aware of, is currently underway and under construction. Passenger rail has had many iterations over the years, but there's this current effort, which my office is the local contact for this initiative, but it's really being driven by the state. I'd like to point out that we've actually done a really good job of accomplishing some of these projects. I'm going to be coming back before you and asking what you'd like to see my office work on as I continue to deliver economic development for the city. It's as the policymaker, you give me the direction as to what you'd like to see actually be for economic development. Some current projects that aren't on this list here, but are also just as important, and we'll probably have more broad conversations on this, is the redevelopment of the Elm Street Middle School, the continued redevelopment of the Mill Yard, are two particular projects that I started feasibility studies on just this past January, and there'll be some documents coming out over the next year or so that will give the community some direction as to what you may or may not like to do with those assets. My office is relatively small. There's only a handful of employees. I have an operational budget of just a few $100,000, but my office oversees projects and manages projects and design and construction teams that are of tens of millions of dollars. So I'll leave my comments right there. I just wanted to give you a very high-level overview, and I thank you all for your time, and I look forward to coming back before you all over the coming weeks to have a more in-depth conversation about what economic development means to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cummings. You don't have questions for Director Cummings? No one with their hand up. Okay, thank you. Appreciate you being here this evening.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, City Clerk Sue Lovering.
Madam President, let me share my screen. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Thank you. Let me just go from the beginning. And I will try to be brief as we go through these. So the mission of the City Clerk's office is to provide quality service to all of our residents, our elected officials, other city departments, and the visitors to our city in a courteous, professional, and unbiased manner, to keep and preserve the records that are in the custody of the City Clerk's office, to conduct and preserve the integrity of all local, state, national elections, and to efficiently meet all statutory obligations with respect to licenses and as the clerk for the Board of Aldermen. I'll briefly just go over these areas of responsibility, the main ones, touching upon the highlights of each. For the Vital Records Administration, New Hampshire is a closed state in regards to their vital records, which means that you need to have a direct or tangible interest in the record to be able to get a copy of it. There are a few exceptions: birth records older than 100 years old and death, marriage, and divorce records older than 50 years old are exempt from that and basically used for genealogy research. Certain records can be obtained from any town or city clerk. You'll see the dates from birth certificates, 1935 to present. There are a couple years exception. The state is manually entering those years right now. Marriage certificates, death certificates, divorce certificates. And basically this means if you were born in Hanover from 1935 or 1960, and you would like to obtain a birth certificate in the city of Nashua, you may come in and get that. You do not need to go to the town in which you were born. In addition to issuing those records, we make corrections to vital records, including adoptions, legal name change, affidavits to paternity, legitimizations, and court orders. And these are all corrected in the city or town where that vital event occurred. There are fees for these records that are by state, established by the state, $15 for the first copy, the state receives $8 for that and $10 for an additional copy of the same record, which the state receives $5. To date, in 2021, 12,216 vital records were issued in our office, and we are a staff of 4 at the counter, total of 6 in our office. So we are quite busy, not only because we are a second largest city in the state, but we also are a hospital city. Marriage licenses, you'll see again, the state receives $43 out of the $50 fee to go into the state domestic violence fund. And in 2021, we issued 489. And we had 8 home births that we also handled in 2021. For records management, some of our records are considered confidential. It includes voter registration, dog licenses, and our vital records. Records created by or deposited with our office are maintained in accordance with RSA 33A for the disposition of municipal records. Here you'll just see a list of the few that we have, which are poll licenses, street discontinuances. I won't go through all of these pertaining to the Board of Aldermen. We maintain your minutes permanently once adopted, and campaign incumbent financial reports and legislation after final disposition. After legislation or after an ordinance is adopted, we have it codified into the National Revised Ordinance, the big black book we commonly refer to it, and supplements are usually run once a year, about in the month of July. These are also accessible on our website, on our city clerk's page. Easiest way to access that is through the government on the main page and then clicking on the city charter and ordinances. That'll bring you to our page where you can view the city charter, the revised ordinances, the approved and proposed ordinances. We have a link that points to the page that is maintained by your legislative affairs manager. And we recently just added 50 years worth from 1970 to present of all logs of ordinances and resolutions that were introduced. And that's a real good research tool and something that is maintained in our office, and we will continue to maintain it electronically as well. If you do visit the revised ordinances online, I would like to point out in the top left, you will see any new laws that have been adopted since the last supplement, the paper copy, and also electronically codified in the ordinances. You'll see how many laws there were. And next to the chapter, you'll see a scroll. So if, on an example on this page, chapter 23, election and campaigns, you'll see a scroll and you'll notice that there has been a change to that chapter and you can view that. And this is very searchable and very user-friendly, I believe. We also have licensing, and April is our busiest month for licensing. In 2021, we issued 10,207 dog licenses. Every owner of a pup 4 months or older needs to annually license that dog with their city or town clerk. We used to have annual rabies clinics in conjunction with the Humane Society, and that was hosted in our back parking lot. That had to be discontinued during COVID, and we hope to, though, resume that annual event in the future. This just shows you what the annual rates are for the dog fees, and I basically brought this up to let you know that out of the majority of our neuter or spayed animals is $7.50 for the dogs, and $2.50 of that goes to the state for 2 programs, the Companion Annual Neutering Fund and the Veterinary Diagnostic Lab. After June 1st of each year, if you do not license your dog beginning in June 1st, there is a $1 late fee that's assessed monthly until you bring it current. And on June 15th, the state law requires a civil forfeiture to be issued, and that results in a $25 civil forfeiture fee, and a $7 cost of service fee. Additional license, quickly, we have pawnbrokers and secondhand dealers. There's 16 businesses that we licensed in 2021. We have 22 establishments that we licensed amusement devices for, and pool tables are also part of that, including non-operated one. Our largest is Fun World. You may all be aware of that down on DW Highway. We also license taxi and cab and chauffeur licenses. So anyone who wishes to drive a taxi must be licensed through our office and must be working for the company that is licensed through the city and meet those certain requirements. All new drivers, they undergo a criminal and motor vehicle check with the Nashville Police Department. A state of New Hampshire criminal and motor vehicle background check is performed as needed. A drug and alcohol test is given prior to the licensing, and they agree to be randomly selected during the course of the year for both alcohol and drug testing. The city has 19 taxi cabs on its street and has licensed 35 chauffeur licenses in 2021. Additional permitting and licensing is the hawkers and peddlers, the internet vendors. We issued 37 of those. We have flea market, street fairs, city events, raffles, no fee permits, including walkathons, marathons, tag days. And we're happy to have seen 161 of these permits were issued in 2021. Although many of our larger events we were not able to hold again this year. We can't forget elections and voter registration. We are responsible for conducting and preserving the integrity of the state, national, and local elections in accordance with the city charter and ordinances, as well as state and federal laws. We provide training for moderators, board clerks, selectmen, ballot inspectors, and deputy voter registrars. And I just really want to give a shout out to them for just really being so dedicated, and so their long hours, including my staff, and making our elections run so smoothly. We also work with the Department of Public Works and the school department, setting up and tearing down at the polling locations, arranging for the police detail, and many other departments, just especially the election in 2020. Everyone really pulled together to make it as successful as it was. Voter registration, as I mentioned, that's part of the election and voter registration. Just a note that the Board of Registrars is the supervision of the checklist, and that no voter is really approved until the time that they meet. So we register these people, but they don't become actively approved until the supervisor of the checklist meets and approves those. 2 10-year mandates that we just completed was the 10-year verification of the checklist. 14,869 letters were sent out to registered voters who had not voted in an election within the last 4 years. In July, the Board of Registrars had a session and 14,800 voters were removed. At the close of the polls in November 2020 state general election, we had 67,249 registered voters. And at the opening of our polls in November, we had 49,159. We held the municipal general election, as you all know, November 2nd, 2021. We had a very good turnout for a municipal general election at 28%. Opening polls, as I mentioned, was 49,159, and we registered 415 that day. So we closed our polls with 49,574 registered voters. And as many of you know, we just finished redrawing the 10-year mandated boundaries of our ward lines, which is in accordance with the state, federal law, and the city charter following the 10-year census. So we adjusted our populations to be in a range of deviation to make them as equal as practicable. A static map of those ward changes and the interactive map are available for viewing on our page, and we are in the process of notifying all residents of those streets who's changed and updating our ward maps. And we will have that finished hopefully by May and certainly by June before the filing papers come up for the next election in September. And that is a very brief overview, and I thank you for your time.
We love brevity this time of night. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Anyone have any questions for the city clerk? Seeing no one, thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation this evening. So that's brought us to the end of our meeting. We've gone through all the presentations. I know you've all been sitting here very patiently listening, and and it's been a long night for your first night of a full meeting. So I'm going to make my comments rather brief. One of the things that I find really important is attendance at meetings, especially during COVID. And it's understandable, people are gonna get sick, and what I want to mention is that we have to have, in order to have a full board meeting, we have to have 8 people physically present. So, you know, if we have 7 people on Zoom and 8 people here, we can hold a meeting. If we have 7 people here and 8 people on Zoom, we can't hold a meeting. So what I'd like to ask is that if you know you're unable to attend a meeting, as soon as you know you can't attend, reach out to Donna, reach out to the chairman of your committee that you can't attend, or reach out to me. Because what we have to do at that point is, poor Donna here, she's got to scurry around and find other people, aldermen at large, to fill in, just so we can hold meetings. So I think attendance is really one of those really important things in order for us to get the city's business done. Nobody wants to stay at home and be sick, but nobody wants to come in here and get the rest of us sick either. So, you know, it's just that kind of environment that we're in the last 2 years. The other thing, I don't really want to take up too much of your time because it's been a long night. Things like not having your cell phones on, thank you. I didn't hear one this evening at all. I appreciate that. Rules of decorum, I think I mentioned briefly when you're in a meeting, you should always wait to be recognized before you speak and not try to speak over another speaker. It just makes everything flow so much better. And it's just common courtesy and respect for each other, and I think we owe that to the public. So things like side conversations while we're having a full meeting are kind of hard, so if you could limit that, that would be great. One thing that the person who transcribes the minute doesn't like is, you know how sensitive these microphones are? They pick up every little click, and when someone's trying to, you know, transcribe minutes, that's what they hear. Click, 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 and it's, you know, it's just something I said I would mention. But I'm not going to keep you. If anybody has any questions of me, we'll take a few questions, and then we'll get you out of here. Alderman Timmons.
Thank you. I have a question about a meeting tomorrow morning on the cultural connection. It's at 9 a.m. I don't know too much. I know that Alderman Lopez is not going to be able to attend, but I can attend, but I don't know anything about it and where to go.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
I don't know anything about it or where to go.
It should have been on the agenda.
They're either in the auditorium or in room 208. I will email you and let you know the details.
Okay, thank you.
That's tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning?
So.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Anything? Anything? Anybody want to adjourn? Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion that the January 10th, 2022 special meeting of the Board of Aldermen be adjourned by roll call.
The motion is to adjourn by roll call. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clay.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
She had to leave.
Thank you. Alderman Camo.
Yes.
Alderman Dow.
Yes.
Alderman Govia.
Yes.
Alderman Kathy.
I can't vote because I have not been sworn in.
Can we get him sworn in tonight or tomorrow night?
I'd be happy to swear.
Okay, thank you. We'll get you sworn in tomorrow night.
Okay.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
You have 11 yeas and 0 nays.
And that motion carries, and we are adjourned at 9:08 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for your patience, and have a good night.